Welcome to Weekly Manga Recap. It is January the 31st of 2024, and it's a special day today.
Why is it a special day?
Because I'm too tired to remember. I had a long day at work today, but honestly, I think that like today itself, other than the fact that we are recording today, which of course does make today special.
Aww.
Isn't the special thing, it's the fact that we are recording this during Super Bowl hype season. And unfortunately, the thing that I think everyone outside of the cities of the cities of San Francisco and Missouri wanted to have happen didn't happen. So yeah, no lines in the Super Bowl. Sad face. But
we weren't allowed to have that much happiness. We were allowed a little bit. We were allowed a little smidgen for 2 weeks when I was like, they just keep winning. They have this. They have this. And then like half of a game too. I think it was like the third quarter they were still in the lead. So we were allowed to have just that much, but no more.
Yeah. But yeah. So everyone's going through the football fever kind of thing. You know, it's that time of year when everyone is like, oh, I can't wait to watch the one game of the year that I watch. And everyone else is like, haha, superb owl, funny joke. I can't wait to watch the commercials. Ba-da-ba-da.
Yeah, it's great stuff. Every time it happens, I'm always like, how very witty of you. You're very, very cool. I'm glad you contributed to this conversation. But in that spirit, I have no idea. This has no connection to the Super Bowl.
No.
But
this is entirely unrelated. It's purely coincidental that it's happening this time of year.
Yeah, we got a special extra chapter of the beloved series Eyeshield 21. Now, when I say beloved. I mean by Nick and myself. And dozens of other people. Now, I say that slightly facetiously. This was an extremely popular series in Japan. It ran for, I think, 6-7 years, something like that. It had a pretty decent run in Jump.
It had over 300 chapters.
Yeah, and ended of its own volition. Like, this was a very popular series, and it limped along. It kind of created the careers of both Murata and Inagake. So, very, very popular series. But when we say, popular bias, there's a reason why Shonen Jump has not made it a priority to put this series into the vault. Sports series are already niche. American football series are even more niche. And although I beg for it every time, Shonen Jump puts out a tweet, and I'm like, well, I don't anymore. Now they'd have to get to Blue Sky. But
come on, guys. Get on Blue Sky so we can harass you to put out Eyeshield 21.
So you can make a post about time to get Saguna. This Saguna Ussi is, or what's Saguna's girl dinner going to be like? And I'm like, Eyeshield 21 in the vault, please.
Funny, yeah. Well, my opinion on this is that Senna would score the touchdown. Eyeshield 21.
Yeah. All I want to do is offer that. It probably won't happen. But we got an extra chapter. Some of you
celebrate the 21-year anniversary of Eyeshield 21.
Yes.
Very nice.
Some of you might be listening saying, well, that's weird. I didn't see that available. And shut up. Stop taking this from us. Just like the 49ers took our opportunity to see the Lions in the Super Bowl. Stop trying to take away our joy of getting to talk about this. We are so good. So much of the time. Support the official release. We were allowed one little treat for doing podcasts for so many years.
Yeah, look, the moment that more Eyeshield 21 is made officially available, I will be front of the line to buy all of it. I am asking nicely to please make that happen.
Yeah, it probably won't. Maybe like if one of us dies an American hero, and like,
all right, I'll get to work on that.
But like, this is like, we should do so. They were both big manga nerds. We could surely do some connection. They'll be like, those little bitches loved Eyeshield 21. I don't know why they're calling us bitches. That seems very rude of Shonen Jump.
Especially for a dead American hero.
Like, these dead ass bitches. I love that we release Eyeshield 21 digitally in their honor. And I'd be very flattered. Not with the bitches part, but with everything else. So we're going to talk about this newest chapter. There's a member of our community that I need to especially thank. That is Mulderman. This episode might be titled Mulderman Presents because Mulderman...
But non-facetiously, because
yes.
This is a very great thing.
Yes, this would not have happened, I believe, without their efforts. Or it would have in a way that's not as satisfying. I don't want to go into the specifics. I don't want to incriminate. Well, I don't want to incriminate Mulderman. I'm just gonna say they were very cool. So it's thanks to them that we were able to read this chapter, and we're gonna talk about it. Look, if this isn't your jam, there's a timestamp. Go check it out. You can pop right over to when we start talking about My Hero Academia. This is mostly for us to really enjoy getting to talk about Eyeshield 21 again.
Yep, and talk about the greatest sports manga that has ever been made.
Yeah.
Because we've never gotten to talk about a chapter on the podcast before.
No.
We started doing weekly manga recap after it had ended. Yeah. One of our earliest episodes was like a how we fix Eyeshield 21. It was kind of a post-mortem to talk about what we liked and what didn't work about the late series as it was kind of starting to go downhill. So this is going to be the first chapter that we do any sort of recap on. It's probably not going to be quite the same as we normally do, both because it is a pretty long chapter. It's like over 50 pages long, and also because of the nature in which we are enjoying it, maybe not going to be so good to go through it line by line.
Yeah,
so we'll skip that.
It's mostly us just going to be like, did you see Nick? Kid was in there. He's in the audience. He doesn't do anything actually cool, but he is there. It's more than Tensuma got.
That's a lot of characters, honestly. In this.
Yeah.
In the very last chapter of Eyeshield 21, we did get to see like some of what a lot of the player characters were doing after high school. Like some of them were had formed teams in college, some of them had gone on to careers and were like the professional team for their jobs. And in this special chapter of Eyeshield 21, Brain Brave, we are getting a preview of a showdown between Senna and Hiruma, who were definitely the different contrasting protagonists of the series. Senna obviously is the point of view character for much of it, but Hiruma, over the course of the series, came to be just as prominent as him.
Yes.
But we actually start off the story a few months prior to that, as Senna's team is going up against Shin's new team. And I have to say that, like, man, if you thought that like Eyeshield 21 explanations were like simple in the main series, man, we don't have time for rules explanations and how possessions work and all this stuff. Literally, the devil bat explanations in this one you can get like about 7 points whenever you get it across the goal line.
There's a great moment, a character fumbles and the bat shows up just to be like, it's important to have the ball.
Yeah,
which feels like the loading screen tooltip for like a bad football video game.
Yeah. Get ball.
You should hold on to ball.
Suzuna is cheering for Senna's team, by the way. I think that we did see that at the end of the last series.
We did see a preview of what Senna's team looked like, and Monta and Senna stayed teammates and Kurita was part of them, and then Riku is part of their team too. Elite running backs, crazy.
A little bit weird. Yeah.
And then Usui, I believe, was their quarterback, the
Yes.
bald
Agon.
brother from the
Yeah.
Dragons.
Yeah, Agon's younger brother. Yeah. Or not younger brother, twin brother.
Twin brother, yeah. And then Suzuna went with Senna to their school. And then there was a whole bunch of other stuff. The most important thing being that Hiruma and is it Mamori?
I would have been reminded, but she's so irrelevant in this chapter.
She does not. She has like a line where she goes, "Oh, Senna," and that's basically it.
I was like, okay, this
disappointing.
Fair enough. This is what I expected.
Yeah, honestly, that is one of the things that I would change about Eyeshield 21 is not have her fade into the background and become irrelevant. But anyway, so they're going up against Ojo's like university squad. So it's all the guys from the Ojo White Knights are on this team. Senna's team, which is the Enma Fires, they win. Everyone shakes hands afterwards, and so hey, we get to see like, oh yeah, Takami's there, Sakuraba's there, Otowara is goofy as usual.
Ikari,
I was like, I popped for Ikari. Yeah. I was like, Ikari? He got more screen time than Jumanji did this chapter.
Yeah, he did. It was weird. Shin, as they're having the handshakes, Senna's like, oh man, I couldn't really get past you until the very end, but that's just like every one of their matchups. But yeah. Shin says something that is in this moment illegible that we come back to later, and it's established that the Emma Fires will be going up against the championship finals at the Koshian Bowl, Hiruma's team, the Psychodai Wizards.
Whose uniforms are exactly the same as the Devil Bats, just colors. Bat. I was like, how do they justify the Devil Bat wings when they're the wizard? Whatever. I'm not going to question it.
Doesn't matter. It's a cool design. So, like, the Enma team, like, gets back to their club room, but there is this, like, massive group of news people gathered outside, and so when they're trying to get inside, they see that the president's son is here, and then a drone with guns on it comes out and starts shooting at everyone, making them dance away because Hiruma has not stopped shooting bullets at people.
Nope.
You can't stop him. Hiruma's there. He's having a meeting with Mr. Dawn, because if there was one character from Eyeshield 21 you couldn't leave out, it's Mr. Dawn.
Everyone was asking, when does Mr. Dawn show back up?
So the entire like Enma team, like, or all the important people pile in to meet with these two, and some guy, someone with glasses, some guy who is a suit wearing glasses.
Yep.
I don't know. He's here because, I don't know, we didn't want to have the Afro journalist guy in here this series. I don't know. So he says that, Mr. Dawn says that he's here to get someone to bolster his pro team's ranks, but there's only going to be one person that it can be. Hiruma then yoips off the shoulder pads of like Senna and Manta's uniforms, and exposes that there is a chip embedded in the shoulder pad that none of them knew about, because they've been using this to measure their speed and acceleration and agility,
their
and
metrics and everything, which makes sense. Who's the smart person on that team at this point?
I think it's Usui.
I was like, but never really struck me as somebody who would like be like, deception is afoot. just
right.
The smartest man in the room with above average intelligence, basically.
Yeah. I mean, if it's not him, then it's Riku, and Riku's more just kind of like a bit more sensible than everyone else on the team. He's still kind of an idiot. Like, so yeah. It makes sense that they didn't detect this, I guess. This is like the one thing that I heard about that was like, I guess that could be the case, but I don't know if it's real or not, which is that they say that these microchips are actually used like in actual pro athletics and stuff to track player movement during games. And it's like, that sounds feasible, I guess.
Sure.
I don't know. I didn't bother to look it up. So they say that they've combined the data that they've been gathering for people this way with machine learning. Because look, guys, I know that Eyeshield 21, took place in the early to mid 2000s.
Ended famously after the Giants won the Super Bowl in 2008. It's literally referenced in the manga. They're like, we're at New York, home of the defending Super Bowl champion Giants.
So this is at maximum like 4 years afterward, because Seta and Hiro would still have to be in college. 3 years afterward, I guess. But whatever. So but they have AI, okay? Because
I love it, because of course Mr. Don would be this asshole who's in news.
Absolutely.
He's like, you don't understand. I use this technology. You can do so many incredible things. You can just go to the computer, you type naked woman giant tits, and it shows up on your computer. And then you can add more things. You're like, naked woman giant tits Lois Griffin, or naked woman giant tits Wilma Flintstone. Or you can think of any cartoon mom, really. Naked mom, giant tits, mom from Dexter's Laboratory. The computer will do it. It won't judge you.
I'm assuming that you have like a very specific type, Mr. Don.
No, these are all...
Yes, they all have messed up fingers.
That's really what I'm into. I want to see the moms with their weird fingers cleaning the dishes.
Yeah, Crypto Bro Mr. Don. Yeah. Sure.
Yeah. The guy who was supposedly like 18 years old and looked like he was 38. He's like, you can just lie. No one can ever question you. You put a number on you.
I'm in high school.
I love all of them. It helps that I read at an 8th grade level so they don't suspect nothing.
Yeah, so as it turns out, Inagaki's kind of got some thoughts on
Yeah.
AI, so we'll get into it. So Mr. Don, remember, the bad guy, says that as a result of the social changes that humanity has gone through, that they have just kind of foisted the ability to think onto machines, and AI is far more dependable than human thinking is, and AI has determined that the best way for his team to be a great team and improve is to have either a running back that is as fast as the speed of light, or a phantasmagoric quarterback. Interesting word choice for AI to come up with, but
I want to see the actual search result. It's like, you should get Joe Namath to be on your football team. Miss Don's like, well, here's what the computer program says. Let's visit every nursing home in New York City until we find them. Mr. Namath, the computers say we need you. So you sure? I only won one Super Bowl. This doesn't even feel like
I mostly did it by handing the ball off.
It wouldn't say Tom Brady or something like that. I kind of skewed the results by looking up so many Cartoon Network naked moms.
Oh, that explains it. I sure do love red-headed naked cartoon moms.
I looked up the mom from Courage the Cowardly Dog, but then they were like, that's not a mom, that's an old lady. You're perfect. And I went down to the company and I shot the people who make it.
I would say I'll never be able to look at Mr. Don the same again, but honestly, I don't think that's going to affect my life much. Oh man, oh man, oh man, oh man. Anyway, so with those two very leading descriptions, of course, they've concluded that one of the two people that they're going to have come from Japan to be on this American football team is going to be either Seta or Hiruma.
Yes.
But they can only pick one of them. So.
And it's very important for Hiruma because he has noted before he does not believe he will ever pass a normal tryout to make a team. He does not have the physical attributes that you would want out of like an elite quarterback. So a special program like this is his one shot potentially to get in.
Yeah. And Senna passed the pro tryout when he was 15.
Yeah.
So
Senna, we already know, can make an NFL team right now if he really wanted to.
Right.
Assuming rules didn't need to take place.
Right. But the two of them just have like a quiet conversation after this meeting takes place. They go off on their own. And they're both, reflecting on how badly they want this. Mr. Dawn has a conversation with Panther. Glad that he got, a little bit of a chance. He actually has a moment in this story that a lot of people don't. Which is that, they just kind of discuss like, Mr. Dawn's like, I didn't know which one we should pick because the hot computer lady machine couldn't tell me that. And Ben's like, oh, well, they're going to have a match against each other. So, yeah, we'll just pick whoever wins because football's not a team sport.
Yeah, because that's the metric we'll use to judge it at the end. They'll be like, well, the game ended when 0-3 sent his team, so I guess I'll take the running back who had a net run of 17 yards on 58 rushes. Finally, the computers have led me to a new direction. You're worth more than the pornography you generate for me on an hourly basis.
God. Yeah. So they kind of like wish each other luck. Senna also says like, I'm glad that they're deciding this in a football match because any other contest that they had to do, you would use your big old book of blackmail to get one over on me. And Haruma actually tosses away his blackmail journal because he's like, I'm going to go become pro, so I'm not going to be needing this. Yes, you will.
Yeah, I was going to say that's actually maybe more useful in the pro level than anything else.
Absolutely.
Also, I assume that was just an act. I assume later on he had like a string he pulls and he's like, ah!
There's no way he actually threw it away.
Yeah.
So it's like, nah, I'm gonna win this one. So they wish each other luck. They're like, hey, let's go do it. And then we cut ahead to when the game is taking place. We do have a little bit of like internal conflict from Kurita because of course he cares a lot about Senna. But Hiruma's like his best friend. Yes. But he is playing on Senna's team, so he's like, look, for the sake of my team, for the sake of Senna, I'm gonna beat you, Hiruma. So just a nice little moment for him. This is where we get to start getting a look at all the people who are on these different teams, and Jesus Christ, the Wizards are stacked.
This was a known thing. So the one person I forgot was a part of Senna's team was Mizukami or Mizumachi, the swimmer guy, was also a part of their team. But then Senna's Haruma's team was so stacked that like people like Jumanji were like minor characters. It was like Haruma, a bunch of great linemen, Taka, EQ, Aegon, Hercules. Like it's so many people. Kake,
like Yamato's like a footnote.
Yeah, you're just like, what the fuck? This team is crazy good.
So some of that happens. We get a little appearance by Gao, who analyzes the line battle. Thanks, Gao.
Yeah, you're like, thank you.
I'm kind of sad that the deer guy couldn't show up to give this little commentary, because that's been his role for everything. But Gao having no role would also have been a little crazy, so at least they were like, here's this for you, buddy.
Hiruma does a thing with a fancy deceptive snap count. He acts like he's calling a play at the line. And instead they just stick with the play that they were going to do anyway, because of course Hiruma would do that. And the play consists of a pump fake, then a fake handoff, and then a regular pass.
This is the phantasmal quarterback that they're looking for, Nick.
Absolutely.
And it's great because it works. You know, it's a touchdown pass to Taka, and they're like, we did it. We won. That was the end of the game. That was the end of regulation. This works great. And then they're like, actually, no. He went in with like 1 second left on the clock because Haruma and Senna came, or not Haruma, Manta and Senna came at him with such ferocity that he had no choice but to catch the ball a little bit earlier or they would have intercepted. So with 1 second left on a kickoff return, Sena's team has to score or they lose. This is the same drama. This is quite literally the exact same drama as the Ojo match. But that's also maybe the best part of the entire series. So if you're gonna like reference a part, do that one.
I do like how the reason why there's 1 second left isn't because like, oh, someone literally physically forced you to score sooner. It's, oh, I had to catch the ball sooner. Now you might think, well, by the laws of gravity, that doesn't make sense. But as established in the Christmas Bowl, Taka can like fly.
Yeah.
Like he can just walk on air. So yes, I fully believe that he could decide when he's going to land by at least a margin of a second or two.
Yeah.
So sure, I'll buy that.
Yeah, absolutely. I can go ahead with it. It's fine.
So they established like, okay, so yeah, look, Senna's team's gonna have one more chance at this. And we get a flashback to when, like, the Devil Bats were in dire straits like this all the time. Just nice to have a group shot of the entire team, doing the fist pump all together, and a nice detail of Taki stretching his leg out while they're doing it. And so they're like, okay, absolutely. Senna's going to get the ball. 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 Riku gets the ball first. Oh, let's get him. He gets it to Senna. You idiot! What are you doing?
Yeah, those idiots got rope-a-doped so bad. It's a cool moment for Riku. He gets to do a rodeo drive one more time for the audience. You're like, all right, let's send this crowd home happy for all the Riku fans out there, question mark. But then, yeah, immediately hands the ball off to Senna as everyone predicted. Literally in the manga, everyone predicts that, like, so Senna's getting the ball on both sides of the field.
Yep.
And it's about Senna getting to that end zone.
Yeah, there is a nice moment where he has to lateral the ball, so it's a backwards pass. EQ actually almost intercepts it, so hey, nice little nod to EQ there. But Senna just snaps it out of his hands and starts running. Momori gets her one line. Senna, thanks, Momori.
It's heartbreaking because you're like, what an awesome character who's influence throughout the series is one of the most like subtle and yet impactful female characters in Jump that I can think of. I truly think of like how her relationship with Haruma is like maybe just one of my favorite sort of subtle blossomings of like a ship in a manga that I've seen. And then here she's just like, that's it. You're like, okay, cool beans. Thanks for showing up, Momori.
Also, Yamato gets totally schooled in this. Yamato, the last great obstacle for Senna to overcome.
The true Eyeshield 21.
Yeah. Not only schools him and three other dudes in one panel. So good job,
it's
Yamato.
So fucking funny. That's exactly how I felt, though. Like, yeah, absolutely. You're just as good as every other member of that stupid team except for fucking Taka at this point.
So who is the real ultimate rival? The real last person that he has got to go up against? Well, Shin's on the White Knights, so not him. Panther's on America, so not him. But you know what? Fucking Agon? Yeah, hell yeah.
They say it. They're like, at this point, he's gotten past all our defenses, except this one. Who's the only person left who could stop Senna? And you're like, yeah, Agon could be that person. He's a supreme fuck. So, and is also probably one of the more interesting antagonists. So, one more time, let's watch a Devil Bat fucking curb stomp Agon to accomplish something.
And this time, he's even wearing a Devil Bat helmet. He's already given up.
Yeah.
So, we get some analysis from Shin in this moment where he talks about, Senna's Devil Bat Ghost is, perfect. It's the best way of getting past any opponent. But there is one thing that it doesn't do. And the computer analysis guy who's with Mr. Dawn is like, oh yes, we have analyzed it with our microchips and AI and stuff like that. And we know that that with Agon's reaction speed, it will stop him. And then finally we learn what Shin had told.
Why don't you? Well, now that you've done using the computer, could you look up hot secretary for Powerpuff Girls naked? Also face.
want that as 2 prompts? No. Literally type hot secretary for Powerpuff Girls naked. Also, write it out. Face.
I've given you very clear directions about what I want to see. The titties and the face, you give them to me. I want to wrestle my face in them. They're like, actually, the game that determines the future of your NFL career is going on right now. Would you like to watch it? It'll be on TiVo later. They're like, wait, so you're big into AI, but you still use TiVo? He's like, technology really perfected in 2005, when we currently are right now, to be clear.
Oh my god. So, Shin had told Senna that there was one thing that was preventing him from going further. One thing more that he needed, which was courage. I don't know, I feel like Senna's got that, but whatever. So, in other words, in addition to having to be able to cut around his opponent, Senna needs the ability to drive through his opponents. Much like a trident tackle even. So yeah, with this advice, Senna now has the option to dodge around with both ways or just drive through people. So he's been bulking up a bit, presumably.
Yes.
So yeah, how do you guard against someone who can cut around you and also just steamroll over you? And Hiruma is like the only person who realizes in this moment that Senna is going to pull this off, because everyone's like, "That's crazy! He's gonna go for a headlong collision." It's like, "There's no way! This is just reckless and stuff." And Hiruma's like, "Yeah, it's a thing that you're gambling way too early on, but that means you're gonna do it and you're gonna pull it off." So
it's
well.
It's very interesting because I have not gone back to reread Eyeshield 21 in its entirety much. I did guest on the Eyeshield 21 podcast and read a volume or two of that in preparation, but like reading the whole series, it's very interesting seeing how much of Senku came from Hiruma. I'm hoping it's not the opposite, but in that moment, you're like, there's 100,000,000% chance this won't work. And that's exactly why it's going to work. And I'm like, I could literally see Senku also saying that as well.
Right.
It's a little interesting to see the character now after having read all of Dr. Stone.
And so we get the actual spiel about AI and machine learning in this, which is, oh yeah, the computer learning and stuff, it surpassed human brain power a long time ago. But you know what? There are those who strive for more than just perfection. There are athletes and scientists and chess players who go beyond even what machines' perfection is capable of. So, yeah, you do you, Inagaki.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Mr. Don's just like, they've achieved great things. I could see Marge Simpson's titties whenever I want, but humans are the X factor.
Because you know what humans have, the machines don't have titties.
Yeah.
So,
if we didn't have any humans, no one would make the hot moms for me to search up the naked pictures of later. They're like, you're so wealthy, you could just commission porn artists to draw them naked for you. No, the fact that they have 13 fingers and fucked up teeth makes them so much harder to me. I'm a real mess of a human being. Just let me have this.
You know what makes my wank sessions even hotter? When a random hand that you don't know where the arm is comes into the picture. When you look really close in their mouths and you see an eye poking out of it. That extra little thrill.
I have a very specific fetish that can only be catered to by a machine that won't judge me.
Oh, look, he scored a touchdown.
Let's go Seahawks. They're like, not the game you're at, sir. Please pay attention. Future of your entire career riding on this.
Yeah, we get an ending here, which is Senna does seemingly get past Agon. He blows past his arm tackle, basically. But it's left up to you, the reader, to decide exactly how this contest ends, because both Hiruma and Senna both seem to still determined that they're going to be the ones to come out on top.
So, Inagaki at this point has had 2 chapters recently that have been like sort of post-epilogue, extra little conclusions. And both of them have ended in a conclusion that's like, we're not going to definitively tell you what happens,
But come on. I mean, come on. So it's very interesting. Yeah, because you're like, I mean, is Haruma going to chase him down with a fucking gun? Like, how are you supposed to stop him? You just established there's no one behind Akane. So if he gets past him, maybe he can still, but you're just like, at that point, it's not Haruma's victory so much as it is Akane's. Right. Like, if I was watching, you'd be like, oh, actually, you know what? Maybe a fucking linebacker who can think faster than the speed of light is actually pretty good, too. I should get him on my team.
Who's that kind of scruffy-looking line guy over there?
He just starts picking random. Who's that guy who looks like a chameleon? He makes me laugh. I want him on my team.
Oh, there's a guy who can make some really good cartoon milk porn.
He looks like somebody who looks at the mom from American Dad and says she should be naked. That's the kind of man I want on my team.
This is not the conversation I expected to be having for the 21st anniversary of Eyeshield 21 special chapter.
He's on the Chiefs every week. Taylor Swift has to walk by him, and he's just like, "Did I tell you what I said?"
What are you gonna look like in 10 years?
She's like, "Travis, I love you."
Also a cartoon. You need to be a cartoon.
Stop introducing me to him. I know he sucks. He's weird. He's just the center on your team. Who gives a shit?
He's the president's son, I'll have you know.
Oh my god. So yeah, that is the chapter of Eyeshield 21. And I mean, I'm not going to sit here and be like, amazing chapter. I felt right in the moment. This is, it added, expanded to everything that I love about this universe. It's fine. This is like a celebration. Senna's going to get a cool new move. Everyone else shows off their greatest hit, sort of, if they have time for it. And we're out of here, and it's fine because I got to relive a bit of my love for a series that I have such a fond passion for. And we got to have more jokes at the expense of Mr. Don and AI. And you know what? Some of the shittiest characters don't even show up. So that's great. I didn't have to see whatever German dude... what they were
yeah.
He also goes 4.2. You're like, eat shit, stop doing this. Or any of the other American players that aren't interested or anything like that. But
Tatanka. Come on, Quinn. Tatanka.
Yeah, Brad Walkman's here. Like, who cares?
Clifford D. Lewis.
Yeah. Oh my god, I completely forgot about their quarterback. The thing that I wish it had is I wish it was even... Like, there's enough of, like, a thought to it that it is, like, full, like actual content. They're like, yes, this is how in a world of AI and advanced learning does, like, human accomplishment mean anything anymore? And this is Inagaki's kind of response. Interesting, this conversation never happened in Dr. Stone, but I guess they were just like, we're not getting to that point. We're going to do a time machine instead. But part of me does wish there was just, like, more nostalgia. Like, I would have loved for a Haha Brothers joke, or I would have loved to see Taki going crazy, or like even just more silliness from the characters, because the humor is what I really loved about this series. As it is, it's a couple of like cool shots of characters. You get a couple like fun little one-liners and stuff like that, but like by and large this was just like a fun revisit. But doesn't like change the content of the ending of Eyeshield 21 particularly.
Yeah. It was nice to have. I was very happy that it decided to, get to read it.
Art's incredible, by the way. Murata's art is always phenomenal, fantastic. And it's so good here.
And it was nice to see like the core of it. Like if you were to like pressure me to like do like a quick one-shot bonus chapter thing, this would be almost exactly what I would pitch for it, which is just like, hey, like Hiruma and Senna's teams from college have a matchup against each other. They finally face off after they've been on the same team for the entire series up to this point. The contextualization of their matchup is weird. And as we have noted, it's very strange to have this very 2024 chapter taking place for a series that was definitely, in the mid 2000s when it was taking place. It's a bit odd. But still fine. It doesn't really matter when Eyeshield 21 takes place. That's not really relevant to the story. Outside of how their cell phones work, because it was a big deal how Senna got a bunch of cell phone friends in it. That was about it. So I did really like reading it. I'm glad that it exists.
Thank again Mulderman for making it possible for us to read this. It's very, very much appreciated.
Yeah, and it's okay that it's not groundbreaking. Republish the series, please. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, so
Viz, surely you're done laughing at our hilarious Mr. Don uses AI to look at cartoon moms in nudity joke.
Now that you've laughed yourself silly with that,
please release it digitally for us to enjoy, right?
I'm sure there's a monumental amount of work that goes into that. But again, think of the chuckles,
Think of the joy that you've just been given.
Now those rock ladies from Steven Universe, are those all his mom? Because if so,
yeah, there's a lot of potential here.
There's a lot of them.
There's a whole lot of rock titties. And on the topic of rocks, Ludo was kind of a mother too when you think about it. They're like, that's not the rock monster from Neverending Story. I know that's where your brain went, but Ludo is the big monster from Labyrinth, who is like Ludo's sad. He's like, yeah, I want to see that thing's titties as well, if you could, please. They're like, fine, just give it to him. He's the president's son. We can't stop him.
Oh, man. What if that's like the one presidential son thing that it's like that becomes a well-known thing about it. Everyone's like, president's son really into AI porn. Totally cool. Just so everyone's like, isn't this great?
Everyone's like, I don't support Mr. President Don's pornography addiction. I do support his form. Actually, no, sorry, reverse it. I agree with his pornography addiction. I think that's healthy. It's his drone strikes in different countries I'm not on board with. Sorry, I almost mixed that up. Woo!
Oh.
Well, thank you, Anderson Cooper, for revealing a little bit more about yourself today. Back to your New Year's Eve celebration.
Let's change gears now.
All right, Nick, My Hero Academia.
My Hero Academia, it's a big thing because we have just seen this plan coming together of, maybe we have to give up One for All in order to stop Shigaraki, who's got All for One and stuff. The hand that was in the last chapter that I was misidentifying, yes, it belongs to like a remnant of Star and Stripes quirk vestige thing. The link between Shigaraki and Deku through All for One and One for All. She points out to all the vestiges that there is still a forlorn little boy that has been buried underneath all of Shigaraki's anger and such.
Now, Nick, how could you possibly not have remembered this important detail that Stars and Stripes' attack against Shigaraki left a giant scarred crater inside of him that is sort of their opening to try to break through all of his mental trauma? That was clearly established fact and not something that was introduced kind of right now. And I say that half facetiously, half honestly. That could have been something they indicated early on. The big takeaway from the Stars and Stripes fight for me was like, we've erased a bunch of Shigaraki's quirks without ever really detailing which ones they are. It's particularly, I guess he still has the power to destroy all of humanity if he just touches the ground, basically, if he wants. But maybe there was something more concrete to be like, I've left a wound here you will never be able to recover from. It is your weakness.
Messed up all the quirks, I know that much. But, All Might awakens, sensing that the power of One for All is calling to him, and he can feel that it is coming unraveled. Small note. I thought Edshot gave up his life to resurrect Bakugo, but there he is, right there, still hanging out in his little snaky form. So I guess he's not dead. Okay. So.
Maybe. I mean, would you still want to be alive if that was you? This is the would you still love me if I was a worm thing come to life, basically. Yeah.
You're like, would you still love me if I was a talking worm?
A talking worm.
Nick, would you still love me if I was Shalub, the giant worm from the Dune movies?
So yeah, Shigaraki senses that something bad is happening to him, and it's like, what the hell? Why is that Star and Stripey lady still floating through my head? Fuck, basically.
Yeah.
So Deku is meanwhile getting the plan explained to him by the second vessel, who had just basically told him in the last chapter, you've got to part ways with One for All. And he says, like, look, you've got to calm down or else Shigaraki's going to detect our plan. So listen, that all that stuff that is surrounding the young Shigaraki, it was basically completely impenetrable. But Yagi noticed a rift, a scar from the battle against Star and Stripe. So what we gotta do is attack from within. The transfer of One for All will smash that scar. We'll pry it open and give his soul a direct beating. Okay. Sounds solid. Cool. Deku goes, how? Wait, that doesn't make sense. How is that? What? And everyone's like, won't we just, like, give him our powers and stuff? And so, he's like, no. See, you know how that childhood friend of yours, Deku, would hand things to you? Just a flash of Bakugo just throwing papers in Deku's face. Ah! It's like, oh, yeah. So if you just
if I give it to him like an asshole,
then it'll hurt him.
Yeah.
And he won't absorb the power, and it'll break the scar open. Just keep no. Listen. So sure.
Yes.
Yeah. He also says that they should start the transfer with him, and it's like, well, but we need Gear Shift. It's like, no, we got to do this now. If we part ways with Gear Shift, you'll be free of the crippling recoil too. That sounds like bullshit, but okay. So the backlash is part of the quirk factor, not like your body suffering under the strain of it. No. Part of the quirk factor. Okay, sure. So they'll give that to him. To give that up to Shigaraki. He'll suffer for the backlash of it. And they establish that the last one to go is going to be Banjo. Who they say, like, hey, you stick with the boy because that's going to be what keeps him alive, is having his webbing, his swift whips. And everyone's like, you know, are you okay with this? And Deku's like, yeah, okay. And so they start putting the plan into action, and Deku uses Black Whip in a scary way. Like, he's got it going all throughout his body, making tendrils come out, sprouting out of his back. He looks like a spider.
He's Carnage at this point. He's gone full Carnage. And Shigaraki's like, "Ooh, you don't look like a hero anymore," which makes sense. Everyone thinks Carnage is very, very cool, so I've heard. I think I like this chapter for the most part. I like the concept, and I think the logic they're working with here is fine. Where the second is like, look, you got to send me first. I think I have a responsibility to be the one who gets sent first. But two, there are actual like practical ramifications. Like, yes, he will get Gear Shift, but my Gear Shift is at right now kind of actually more of a detriment to you than anything else. So use me. I'm the one coming up with this plan. You know, this will work, and let's establish right now. Black Whip's the last one. That makes sense. Black Whip has, I think, far and away kind of been the quirk that Deku has made the most use of everything that's not all for one directly or one for all.
It's the first one he awakened.
So. Yeah, but I mean, like, even just like in terms of like applications and power, like he uses it more than kind of anything else. So like that being his last one just feels fitting. I'm not super like stoked for the Stars and Stripes element to it. It does make that fight have some significance in the long run, but I kind of feel like it doesn't hold a lot of water per se exactly. Like I get it, like her quirk went in and messed a bunch of things up, but I wish that it had been made more of like an evident factor that this was going to be the end result of it. Maybe you didn't want to tip your hand that much, but this kind of feels like something almost done retroactively. Be like, no, it was actually very important that Stars and Stripes had that fight. So that part I'm not super crazy about, but the rest of it I think is pretty good.
Yep. It's going to be interesting to see where this goes. Especially because, like, this very much seems like the final battle, and this seems like we're getting towards the end of the final battle, too. Without getting too far ahead of ourselves in terms of what we're going to be discussing later, but Shonen Jump is going to have a couple new series starting soon.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel like My Hero Academia is going to end in 3 chapters.
Yes.
But when is it going to end? Like, what's the pacing that we're looking at here is certainly a question that's on my mind as we're going through this.
If you were to make a prediction right now, which month My Hero Academia, we believe it's going to end this year. What month of the year are you going to make the call on?
I mean, at this point, like, assuming that we are headed towards the end phase of everything, my guess would be April.
Okay. I'm going to go a little bit longer. I think it's going to get delayed out.
Well, May,
I was going to say May. But if you're going to say May, I'll take April then. I'm going to undercut you just a little bit.
Well, I'm just thinking in terms of just cycles of stuff.
And there's also breaks. Well, I will note to get fairness, we have seen a Jump that there are times where a series will just end and a new series will not fill its spot immediately. They'll use it for like one-shots and things like that for a while. So that is a precedent that has been set. But we will talk about this more when we get to Cipher Academy. But for now, let's talk about Undead Unluck. This is number 192, Survival of the Fittest. Hey, we're back with Fuko and Julia, and they see a beautiful light. And Julia is like, "Oh, it's that light that came to me too. So does that mean Mr. Top is over there?" And Fuko doesn't seem as optimistic. She goes, "That's not one of Andy's soul bullets. That light was probably..." She doesn't finish that thought because Julia is like, "So is this Top a negator like you?" And Fuko's like, "Yeah." And she's like, "So, what are negators?" Like she doesn't. Yeah. She's like, "I don't actually know what's happening right now." And Fuko's, oh right, shit, I didn't give you an explanation. So she very quickly runs.
They're still in their fencing uniforms.
Yes.
Like they went straight from that to go and see Top. So
yes. So Fuko explains, using Sean as an example, that hey, this is a person. He can turn invisible when he closes his eyes, but doing so means that he lost out on a career of ever being an actor. And that's kind of what happens. Negation abilities, when they activate, usually cause a tragedy, which means you lose something. For example, when my Unluck manifested, I ended up killing over 200 people in an accident, including my parents. And Julia immediately hugs her and is like,
"Yeah,
no, you're wrong. You didn't kill them, Fuko. You didn't choose to activate this ability. You didn't have any control over it, so please don't phrase it that way." And Fuko just thanks her and is like, "That's very sweet. But I also used to believe this was random. But after looping, I'm starting to understand why we get chosen to bear negation abilities." And she seems very confident. At this point, they're in what looks to be a city in South America. I believe that's where Top was from. Brazil, I want to say.
Brazil, I think, was where it was from,
yeah. And Julia tries to ask a question, but doesn't have time to answer it as something shoots towards them. And Fuko just says, "That's Top. Top Bull Sparks, the negator known as Unstoppable," which explains why...
Bull Sparks!
Which I guess explains why last chapter was called Top Bull Sparks, despite Top not showing up in that chapter. But whatever. Sure. Yeah, we got his full name now, Top Bull Sparks. So people have run through, and basically the way you can translate it basically can make even more of a pun on Unstoppable than just Top. So there you go. Julia is super impressed. She's like, "Wow, this guy is so fast." And Fuko's like, "Yeah, his negator ability allows him to negate stopping, which just makes him faster and faster, and he can reach those speeds." And Julia's like, wait, no. So he just keeps running forever. And she's like, no, he can stop himself. But that's odd. None of his limbs are broken. And we can see that Top has, come to a stop at this point and, starts running again, steals somebody's wallet. And is like, hey, thanks for the wallet, sucker. When who should show up, Nick? But Haruka, the Ishin that we all know and love, who has like a butterfly net. And
I'm gonna get you.
She's like, today's the day. Top just says, Haruka, I gotta hand it to you for never giving up, and I have to thank you. It's because of your shoes that today's hunt resulted in another he shoots off like Sonic, huge haul. Haruka is real sad. She tries to break her unbreakable butterfly net. And Fuko just walks up and is like, hey, Haruka, how's it going? And we get some quick introductions as Fuko basically asks, like, oh, so wait, his stop condition for Top isn't the same as before? And they're like, yeah, he can actually stop himself now by breaking something with a kick. So he has a new...
goes and kicks a tree.
Yeah, he just kicks a tree and knocks it over. And they're like, yeah, he was supposed to, like, break bones before, but now it's different. And we have Julia kind of ask, like, does that always happen? And Fuko's like, no, just when stuff was kind of inconvenient before it gets changed. She doesn't say that, but that is my thought. But we get the clarification that I was very curious about during this entire time, which is, wait, if he has Unstoppable, does that mean he killed all of his track and field friends? And the answer is no. Haruka stopped that tragedy from happening. However, he still gave up running because, as we find out, his mom is contagious with an infectious disease, or I should say she's sick, rather, with an infectious disease. And basically, they are forced to live out in the woods because no one from town wants them around. So we see this scene of Top showing back up to his mom. He's like, hey, Mom, check out all this stuff I grabbed today. This is super sweet. And his mom's like, oh, absolutely not. We can't use that. You stole all of that stuff. We have to live in a society. If we don't do that, then we're no different than beasts. And Top's like, then fuck it. I'll be a beast then.
I'll be a hedgehog.
Yeah, I could be any kind of beast I want. Maybe like a dark hedgehog with black fur and like red accents. And sometimes I use a gun. Yeah. Sometimes I ride a motorcycle around. I hang around with a hot bat that football guy keeps looking up for naked pictures of. And he's basically just like, yeah, it's stupid that we follow rules anyway. Why should we even be in a society? Rules are just dumb anyway, and the people who stick to them are the ones who get devoured. I'm not going to be weak and be devoured. So he decides to go out and hunt some food. He runs out into the woods, and he's like, yeah, this is my world, here alongside the beasts, where the losers don't get to complain. My legs are more suited for this world. And Fuko pops out of nowhere. She's got her regular outfit on, and she has a gun. It is actually a very intimidating way for her to introduce herself because she just has a gun pointed at him. And she's like, you only think that's true because you've never been hunted before.
Great panel to show to someone who's only ever seen Fuko from like the first 4 chapters of the series.
Yeah. Fuko, or I should say Top rather, does recognize her. He did see her while they were in town. And Fuko shoots a bullet to let Top know that this is a real gun. And he's like... or she's like, okay, fine. If you want to deviate from the rules, whatever. But let's talk to each other within the confines of the rules. The rules of the beast. Which makes it very, very funny because you're like, okay, so clearly the light from the start was one of the UMAs. Clearly it's beast. I'll laugh my ass off if UMA language shows up and it's just like, babble, babble, bitches. And they're like, oh shit, actually, Top, can you talk about how language is really the limiting factor in all of our lives? So Top is just like doing his fucking speed dash everywhere move, and he's like, she a cop? She doesn't look like one. What's going on? And Fuko is just like, Top, you talk a lot of shit, but you aren't really used to fighting. You're actually very predictable. And she counters one of his attacks, and he's like, oh, shit, she's actually strong. All right, fine. if you want to do this, like, we'll fucking do this. And they both basically, rather I should say, he collides into her. He uses Unstoppable, and we end the chapter with a 2-page spread of Unstoppable versus Unluck, and Fuko saying, "Sick, you have the rashiest, snappiest attitude I've seen yet." So
yeah,
sort of a new version of Top, but a little bit more edge. He's older. His power sucks less. There's cool stuff going on here. How'd you feel, Nick?
I really liked this ending confrontation between Fuko and Top. That image of him launching that big drop kick into her is very cool. In terms of like the stuff we use to establish Top's character, he's kind of less interesting, honestly. Because before he was, kind of like one of the kiddier sort of characters who had to, grow up when things got serious. So to have him be a teen Top, where he's edgier and stuff, he's like, oh, the strong. He's just kind of a tryhard. But if we see him change a bit, and we have seen like all of the people that Fuko has recruited go through a pretty significant rapid change after they actually join her, then I think that he could be okay still. Something that I have seen people note upon is the fact that Andy very, very pointedly, like, shoved Top and Haruka into a couple at the end of the last loop, and in this one it's like, okay, so he's actually closer to her age, and also they have an established history, so maybe this can actually like be a thing now.
Yeah, if you're gonna do this, it makes more sense now. I guess we'll keep our sights in line for Chikara and Tatiana to get together. Who did Chikara get hooked up with?
I'm pretty sure it was Tatiana.
Tatiana. So yeah, let's keep our eyes out for that. But hey, I think this is fine. It's a little obnoxious to like. These are one of those times where you can see like the seams of Undead Unluck's writing, where you're like, I have a UMA Beast guy. How about Top talks about beasts over and survival of the fittest over and over again? A detail never really a part of his character previously, but like, I get it. He's now living on the streets, so maybe that's his mentality. So fair enough, but not perfect still.
Yeah. Let's move on to Blue Box.
Good. I need an uplifting pick-me-up, Nick. I'm feeling.
It's raining.
I'm feeling a little down from the last couple chapters.
Oh, it's raining. Oh no, chapter 134. Get on. Last time Chinatsu hurt her foot and her team lost. They're out of nationals. So Taiki is waiting at home, seemingly trying to just like focus on something else. But Chinatsu gets home and he rushes downstairs to see her, and she's hobbling. She's got a crutch, and her right foot, the injured one, is all bandaged up. So, Taiki's family come to ask
Nick, where's her other shoe? Did the hospital just take it?
The doctor ate it. I'm sorry.
Oh my god! Wait, is that what
happens in Japanese hospitals?
I was gonna say, is that what their medical bills are? Like, I'm gonna eat one of your shoes. I'm like, wow, that's actually much more affordable.
Yeah, that's what, like a pair of shoes you got to replace. So, like, it's just like cheap tennis shoes in Chinatsu's case. So
oh no, Chinatsu's a sport head. She's definitely got some good shoes.
Okay, well,
I feel like she's put
$60.
Yeah. Nick. Oh my gosh, you're not a sneakerhead at all.
No, I'm not that kind of sneakerhead. No.
What's the other kind of sneakerhead?
She went to like DJ Khaled's house in order to like get her workout shoes.
Yeah,
these are worth more than your parents.
She's like, my dad has actually a pretty good job. He actually might be able to afford these shoes.
Congratulations, you just played yourself. Well, that did not contextually make sense. It is one of the 3 things I am known for.
Another one. And then he steps backwards into a door and slams it closed before they could say anything else that would have revealed his third line. He's like, good, I got out of there. If I said the third one, I would have gone back into the lamp.
We speed ran that one. All right. So, Chinatsu says that she sprained her foot, which makes sense.
Yeah.
It's obviously serious within the confines of a basketball game, but she's gonna be okay if she just gives it a few weeks of rest. And so Taiki's mother is like, "Oh, come inside, have some food." And Chinatsu turns to Taiki and says, "Hey, don't worry about me. There's still the Winter Cup." So there you go. There is, presumably another path forward. She's not done pursuing high school basketball just yet. But of course, it's still a really big setback.
Yes.
So they make like Taiki's mom's trying to be really nice to her. Say like, "Oh, you could sleep downstairs and we'll get a futon out for you." And she's like, "No, I'll sleep up in my room." And she's like, "I can still take the stairs and stuff." Taiki obviously is still worried about her, especially like when the next morning comes and Chinatsu's not downstairs, like she is on a lot of mornings. He goes to the gym, and of course she's not there because she can't work out while she's rehabbing.
It's so sad because he says good morning instinctively upon entering the gym, and he's like, "Oh, just me."
Yeah, he's like, "I've never experienced this before. She's always here, and now she's not." Chinatsu does show up during her basketball team's practice, and everyone's like, "Hey, are you okay? Should you really be here?" And she says, "I'm just gonna watch. It's gonna be okay." And then she like kind of captains up a bit because she's like, "Hey, I'm sorry for inconveniencing you." Everyone starts to apologize for like letting her down while she was gone, but she claps her hands and she's like, "Hey, okay, come on, let's switch gears. I know it sucks that we lost, but we still have time to figure out what we're gonna do before the winter tournament." And so she's like, "I'm gonna work on other stuff that I can." And she like grabs a basketball and is like, "I'm gonna be a master ball handler before my foot all heals up and stuff." And so everyone takes a little bit of inspiration from this and they get back to practicing. But Chinatsu is left by herself while this is happening. She's just kind of sitting on the sidelines watching people, and eventually she gets up and she walks to somewhere to go to the bathroom and stuff. And everyone offers after practice like, "Hey, do you want us to help you out, take you home and stuff?"
Yeah, they're like, "We'll carry your stuff all the way to your front door." She's like, "No, that's fine.
Do not come with me."
Don't find house.
So she's like, yeah, I'll be fine. So she goes off on her own, and everyone's like, I'm glad that she's doing better than expected. But Nagisa's like, there's no way she feels okay. There's no way.
Yeah.
So, and sure enough, yeah, of course, Chinatsu on her way home, she thinks she just replays the game in her head. The moment that the collision happened, and she collapsed. And in the present, like, she also like falls to her knees and starts grimacing, almost as like when she was first injured. But when she looks up, Taiki's there, and he's crouching down in front of her with his back to her, with his arms held back. He's like, "Go on, get on, piggyback ride, get on, I'm ready."
Yeah, very, very brazenly as well, because we're right in public, and he's just like, "No one will see me." But I do think it's very, because she gets on her back, and I do think it is funny. They do note that people are like, "What's going on here?"
Just a random piggyback ride between teenagers going on. And so he says that he wants to take her somewhere. And Chinatsu's like, "Oh, I'm probably heavy. I'm in training. You'll be fine." So.
Yeah. I like it. She's very self-conscious the whole time. She's just like, "Oh, I'm probably too heavy." He's like, "Nope." She's like, "Oh, I can hear you breathing hard." He's like, "Nope, you're hearing things." She's like,
Yeah.
"Oh, I've got a tournament coming up." He's like, "Nope, this is fine."
Yep. And they get there, and there is a big old river that he's brought her to the shore of. And he says, "I like bodies of water."
I love it. She's like, "Why did you pick the river?" He's like, "I like bodies of water." And she's like, "Yeah, this tracks."
You did bring me to the ocean that one time.
It doesn't make sense. But then, of course, it's actually an emotional reason why he brought her to the river.
He says, "It feels like the open water can absorb and carry all that weight for you." and the breeze along the shore, your voice just gets swept away, and it doesn't care if you cry. And Chinatsu, looks at him for a minute, and she smiles, and then she starts breaking, and she just all of it immediately. The faucet's been opened up, the tears start coming out. She starts full on crying, and she just goes, "We lost because of me." And you gotta let it all out. You gotta let it out. You gotta let out the bad feelings, girl. So
it's very painful because you're like, "Aw, like it's okay. Like you're I'm so sorry that you're being all of your work didn't work out, and of course you're such a fucking good-hearted person. Instead of blaming the world, you're blaming yourself."
yeah.
But also it's like legitimately very, very sweet that Taiki was like, "I'm gonna take you to this river, and I'm just gonna make it very clear. I'm not gonna say like you can cry here. I'm just like, let me be poetic about it and be like, oh, we're out here. It feels like the river will hold you up and the wind will blow your voice away. And it doesn't even matter if you cry here." And then it just kind of smiles and comforts. It's just like, it's fucking sweet. He's such a good fucking dude. At one point in time, I was like, this fucking nerd. And now I'm like, wow. Oh my God, Taiki, you're such a gentleman.
Yeah. You're a good boyfriend, Taiki. Good job.
Yeah. Very happy. This is a great chapter. Very, very powerful. Great shot of Chinatsu in that sort of deep emotion. It's handled well. And this is like not a full page, like 2-page spread, but this is like a very good 1-2 kind of like page to look at. It's very emotional.
Yeah. Quite a very nice, like, good, sad chapter.
Yeah.
Like a positive sad. It was nice.
And we've seen already what happens when people support one another. So, Nick, let's carry that feeling right along into Chainsaw Man.
Chapter 154, All Pets.
Vroom, vroom. I can't wait to see the camaraderie.
Yeah, so the auntie type of girl who was trying to pull Naruto away from the fight, she's starting to punch people because Naruto used her control powers on her. And so everyone realized like something weird's going on here, and like someone starts calling for backup on this. She looks to Fumiko, does Naruto, and is like, "I can only send out 3 chains at once. I can only control 3 people at once. So you got to help me." And Fumiko's like, "Yeah, I'm out of here. Look, I do like Chainsaw Man, but risking my life to save him, that's outside the scope of my job. So do your best. Bye."
Everyone's like, what a fuck? Like, it makes sense. She's like, "I'm a fan of Chainsaw Man. I think he's so cool, and I want to suck his dick because I think he's awesome." And then the second his still sister is in trouble, she's like, "Actually, I have to go. This is not my job description. Peace."
Yeah, kind of lighten it up whenever she dies, I guess. So, also, just like to let you know, like, oh no, it's okay to not care about this woman anymore. No, you're just like, our family just died in a fire, and she says, "Weren't they only pets?" So, all right, you're on the shit list, girl.
It's a great exchange. It's her like, "Family? Weren't they only pets?" Nayuta's like shocked expression, then Fumiko just fucking leaving, and then cut to Nayuta being like, "That diarrhea woman." Great one page.
People start to realize that there must be a devil's power at work, so they're like, "There's gotta be one nearby," and fucking Barum is like, "It's that girl. She did it.
Of course.
She did it. Kill her."
In a series of shitty people, the shittiest, most unlikable one of them has survived long enough to be like, "Get her! There's too much joy you're having. Kill this girl." Like, we know this motherfucker's got like seconds left to be alive in this world or whatever, and yet he's still finding a way to be a complete fuckhole about everything.
The middle-aged woman that Naruto first took control of also points to her and is like, "She called Chainsaw Man her family," and she's like, "You old bat!" So Yeah, that someone starts to go, like, I heard the kids who are Chainsaw Man believers are also spraying chainsaws from their heads and killing their parents. And someone goes, who told you that? I don't remember. You fucking bullshit. Naoto takes control of him, makes him pick up Chainsaw Man and carry him away to safety. And even while doing so, Naoto says through the guys, like, and you thought you didn't need me. Naoto gets cornered, but the kid gloves are off now because Fumiko's not there and Denji's not there. So she's like, no one's here to get mad at me if I kill everyone. So she starts turning people against each other one by one, having them stab each other and stuff. But she also, kind of is like, I don't like killing people like Denji does. Video games are more fun than killing.
It's in a way very twisted. It's a kind of brutal scene, but it is kind of nice to see there's not like necessarily a sadisticness in Naoto right here. Like, I am kind of grateful to see that she does have kind of reactions. It's like, I don't like this. I'd rather be playing video games. You're like, oh right, this is like a fucking 8-year-old girl. Like, yeah. This is a lot for her. Like, she's not like traumatized necessarily by it yet, but it's just nice seeing that she didn't immediately resort to just like, yes, murder, kill the innocent people.
Yeah, it's a nice, complicated thing that she's going through. She's like, oh yeah, now I can kill people. I don't like killing people.
Yeah, she's like, this sucks.
I'm gonna kick him in the dick instead.
Yep, she does that. Right afterwards, she's me like, I'm just a kid!
She does get stabbed by a spear.
She gets a big old cut in her shoulder.
Yeah, right across the shoulder.
And then there's a click, and she turns. Fucking bear him. He's got a gun.
Of course he has a gun.
This asshole.
I'm grateful in one way because I truly thought this chapter ended with her being shot. I didn't realize that the sound effect was just for a click, and I was like looking. I was like, where did she get shot? I thought you'd be able to see it visibly, but I truly thought the chapter was going to end because she got shot. But there's a hope in my mind. It's like, please don't shoot this poor baby. Please don't shoot this innocent child. I should maybe not.
I know that she's a devil, but also she is also a kid.
Yeah. So. Please don't shoot Denji's remaining family.
Yeah, things are looking really dire for Denji right now.
Yes.
Not just in terms of like, the situation he's in currently, but in terms of the stuff that is, holding him to being a good person right now. Doesn't seem to be holding up too well. So we'll see how things go in the next chapter, but we're going to move on from there. Yeah. We'll talk a little bit briefly about Kaiju number 8 B-side. Chapter 3, Void at the End of the Road. So the whole lizard extermination plan didn't really go too well for Hoshina. Fortunately, the entire rest of the squad had the freezing rounds, and that's very, very effective and stuff. And we have a little bit of levity at the beginning of this chapter as they start to talk about Captain Ashiro, because she is a catastrophically bad cook. And Oshina's like, oh, I didn't think you guys were going to, like, talk about, cooking. You looked so grave. And they're like, no, it is really bad. We had a drilling camp, a camping drill in the mountains, and the officers made curry, but the squad she was in, she tried to just toss in whole vegetables without cutting them. So why would she do that? Yes, and it's not like she was, being stupid or something. It's literally because she can't handle knives. It would be very bad. Yeah. So we tried to give her like a vegetable peeler, and she was like, "No, I can't use that."
Yeah, they're like, it's a joke. We let her hold a knife once, and we thought people were going to die. And a vegetable peeler is too dangerous. Which is very interesting. There is like this weird thing in Kaiju number 8, which is just like, yes, the blade, the old martial arts. There's those who still practice it, even in today's modern age of guns. That's much of what this chapter is about. But like, it was established that she's like, look, I'm no good at close combat and bladed weapons, so that's why I need you, Hoshina. It was very cute. She's this long distance specialist. He's a close distance. It works. Then they've like amplified the joke, and they're like, no, actually, if she holds a fucking push pin,
people could die. You don't understand. There's an edge to it. Our lives are in danger now, which is curious. It's a choice.
All right, make sure, Mina, make sure when you sharpen your pencil, you only twist it twice. If you get any further, it's too sharp for you to handle.
That would be, if they did move to that extent where they're just like, we actually have to put little rubber things on the edges of her desks because if it's too pointy, it's actually considered a bladed weapon and she'll kill people.
Hoshina's takeaway from all this is that her squad does really, really like Hoshina, Ashiro. Yeah. She is beloved. They then spot,
positive. No one says they like her because they're like, oh, what a cool, confident beauty or anything like that. They solely appreciate her for her talents, and I deeply respect and appreciate that fact.
Absolutely. There is a kid on the street who, of course, has, survived all the rampaging and stuff. He's clearly traumatized by this. He's crying up and everything. Hoshina tries to beckon him over, but the kid's also got a dog in his arms. The dog starts barking because he senses something is wrong. And just at that moment, they get Ebina gets a call over the radio that, there is another massive lizard kaiju that is there. It immediately goes for the kid and just swallows him.
Nick, did this vindicate your hatred of dogs a little bit? You're like, if that stupid dog hadn't been barking, maybe the kid would have been okay.
Well, I do see that the dog got away scot-free, so...
Dogs always escape the karmatic punishment.
Absolutely. I mean, for all we know, that dog used that kid as a springboard to get away.
Yeah, so. Oh yeah, that was absolutely, it was like, I'm gonna speed boost off you, good luck, bud.
Hoshina dashes in without thinking to try and do something about it. It again has to dodge its acidic saliva and everything. And now things are really bad because they don't have freeze rounds to deal with this thing. They've run out. So Sheena's like, I gotta go after it. The lizard starts running away from the squad. They can't take it down with their regular rounds either. So Abina's like, look, the odds would not be in your favor if you abandoned the platoon at this point. So we just gotta wait for someone to arrive here. And Hoshina's like, what about the kid? What if the kid gets digested before backup comes? We have to go right now. And Abina's like, no. And so Hoshina demands, why? And Abina says, because you can't beat it. The kaiju is really large. You wouldn't be able to handle it. And I'm not going to send one of my officers into a fight they can't win. So Hoshina demands, I was like, are you saying you don't care if the kid dies? And Abina's like, of course I care. I do care. I can't send you out there. And he is like got this like demented expression on his face. He's biting his lip so hard over it. So he's very clearly like, I hate making this decision, but I have to make it. So Hoshina comes to understand, like, of course he feels that way. Like he just saw someone get attacked right in front of him and he can't do anything about it. So Hoshina's like, all right, I understand your orders. I still am asking you to let me go. And it turns out not to be Ebina's call, because Ashiro gets on the radio and says, hey, look, I can engage that thing once we finish all the Yoju over here. Will that be too late? And Hoshina says, I mean, it would be a really close call. And so Ashiro's like, can you take down the kaiju? Hoshina just says, I know I can save that child. So he rushes off, and he thinks about his time, admiring his dad growing up, and how his dad told him, like, hey, you've got to give up on this dream after like giving him these encouraging pats in the head, telling him to keep going this whole time. Eventually, he was like, it's not going to happen. The blade, it's past the era of the blade. It's not going to be good enough anymore. But Hoshina thinks, like, I spent all that time training with the blade. If you take it away from me, what will be left, basically? So he's going after this thing, dashes up towards it, and we get a battle from this point. It's trying to attack him with its acidic saliva, and which he thinks is good because that means that there is less acid in its mouth or stomach to dissolve the kid. He uses his air slicer, but it moved its head at the last moment, so he wasn't able to fully kill it. And then he gets knocked out of the air by its tail, And he is in really big trouble. He's like, shit, my suit's already on the verge of overheating. He's starting to spray blood from his nose and mouth. And also, this creature has demonstrated it's smarter than the others. And so now he's like, shit, what do I do? This thing's smart. It's too smart. I'm not fast enough. I can't outrun it. Fine, then. I'll stop. And the lizard leans down, grabs Hoshina's head in its mouth, and eats him. End of chapter. Yay!
End of series, actually. I believe this is only a 3-chapter thing, so it's good. We finally know how Hoshina died. I think that's important context to carry going forward. But, you know, I mean... Actually, wait, that doesn't line up with things, Nick. He's still alive. So how does he survive? It clearly looks like he just died here.
I don't know. Maybe he took some X-Lac with him. So to get...
Oh, yeah. He's like... Prepare to poop your brains out, lizard. I don't know why that's his voice, but it's what he does. And Lizard's like, I mean, different scales, really. That's just one box for you. It's not going to... Oh, I do have to go. Actually, I have to go really bad right now.
I have to use the giant lizard's room.
It just kicks the top off the house and squats over it. I'm like, that makes sense. Oh. That does sound like the giant little lizard's room.
Nick, are you excited to talk about Eden Zero, Chapter 273, Purification?
Let's go with excited. Sure, I'll say excited. Yeah.
So we're in the flashback still. Sorry, I meant to show my screen briefly, just in case you don't have it. You can see Rebecca in a bikini. It's actually very relevant for this chapter where Rebecca does show up. Amusingly, Nick brought this up at the start. He was like, I opened up Rebecca in a bikini, and I sat there. I was like, was there a Black Clover chapter this week where Rebecca showed up? Truly had just forgotten this was even a character. So we're in the flashback 20,000 years ago. I'm just going to call them by their other universe names because it's easier. Clown is like, yes, everything in our world has ether. It's a stream of energy. And we thought that it would be too difficult to ever truly take advantage of it. But thankfully, Dr. Valkyrie wrote a thesis proving its existence. And then Valkyrie, Witch, and Hermit show up and they're like, hey, we're here, I guess, waiting behind this door for dramatic, showmanship reasons.
Yeah. It's nice to know that Una Valkyrie, the most American person in the world, was responsible for these things.
Yep. It's revealed that all three of them, Witch Sister and Valkyrie, were college roommates at one point in time. And we get another quick reminder that Witch is a defense attorney. And then Sister's like, wait, who is this? Because you've clearly also just brought a child to my hospital room. This strange child I've never met before. And they're like, this is a girl who came to visit Valkyrie and brought her boyfriend?
He's not my boyfriend.
Yeah, she of course does the it's not my boyfriend thing. But they're like, she's been doing interesting research that we think will help with your ether therapy. And she's like, what do you mean? Smash cut to 3 months later. God. For some reason. And Sister's like, I feel great. I feel so splendiferous. I'm amazing. Look at me do backflips and fucking jump and shit. And Witch is like, oh, this is so wonderful. And Witch is like, I've caused so much trouble. You don't mind if I help out with some experiments for you guys, right? I feel like I really need to do something to make it up to you. For some reason, smash cut over to, I guess, America. I don't know. Some lab where Valkyrie is. They're working in a physics lab of some kind, I guess, as she gets this call. And Hermit is also there. And she's like, was that the hospital? Like, yes, I just heard how Ivory's exam went and it went great. All of the tumors disappeared. All of her magic illness is fixed. It worked out perfectly without consequence. We have proven that ether has self-purification abilities. And they're like, oh, wow, this is great. Even if our world's ether is drying up, this means if we can get it to a critical point and cause it to overdrive, that's our hope of saving the planet. Then we get a scene I don't quite understand the point of. Because Hermit's like, I feel bad because we used Witch as a guinea pig. And Valkyrie's like, Don't be ridiculous.
She was absolutely a guinea pig. I'm like, I don't understand in the context
No.
how that conversation happens. And then we cut back over to Witch and Valkyrie, and Witch is laughing because she's like, oh, don't worry, you've worked plenty. I guess it's supposed to be a joke that she was a guinea pig.
You went under experimental medical procedure and your illness was cured. Pranked ya?
Yeah, gotcha, dork. This is actually a hidden prank show that the Practical Jokers come out.
We cured your fatal disease. Oh,
It's weird because it's not like this detail was hidden. We know that Clown specifically has told her in a previous stupid little flashback. He's like, there's a special ether science experiment thing that we think could help you. She knows she's been going under like unproven technology. So I don't understand what the joke is supposed to be, but who cares? This series is stupid. So Shiki and Rebecca and Pino and Happy are just fucking ghost flying through the air. I guess watching all of these scenes simultaneously because they're in different fucking locations. Who gives a shit? And Shiki's like, oh, okay, cool. So if we make the planet overdrive, it turns into a hot mom. This all makes sense. Yep. Everything's tracking.
You just did the Earth's a hot mom.
Mr. Don, you had to wait your turn. But Shiki asks, he's like, yeah, this is all starting to make sense, but what was the promise I made? Like, this is fucking 20,000 years ago, isn't it? And Mother is like, yeah, let's move forward in time a few months later. And boom, Witch and Wizard, they have a little baby. That's how pregnancies work. 3 months later, I guess, boom, baby. And Shiki's like, don't tell me. And Mother's like, it is. That is you, Shiki. And what? Whoa, then that means Witch is my mom? Everyone's very happy for a second.
What? Witch, the very motherly character, is Shiki's mother?
Well, I thought she was just the character that gave me mommy fetish stuff. I didn't know she was actually my mommy. This is crazy.
God.
But, of course, Mother has to drop in some sadness where she says, but their happiness did not last long. The countdown to Earth's destruction had already begun. Dun, 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 dun. The world is ending, Nick. That's
Okay.
Yep. I truly could not have cared less about this chapter.
I literally, the biggest hang up that I had in this whole chapter was just the making a big deal that, what? Which was my mom? Sure. Yes. Because
I'll at least...
she was your mom metaphorically in every other way, so why not?
I will at least accept it in a way where he's like, oh, I didn't realize I was technically related. The only thing... Like, nothing in this chapter is new. We already knew Shiki, or that Witch in this life had a child named Shiki. This isn't new. I'm not fucking smart because I connected the dots that said, maybe the only other fucking Shiki in this series is also that Shiki as well. Like, I get it, okay? I have some reading comprehension. So nothing new is learned from this chapter. There's just this weird joke about just like, yeah, we did use Witch as her sister as a guinea pig. And you're like, but again, this isn't new. We know that she was, whatever. Everything in this chapter is stupid and makes no sense. So let's talk about Cipher Academy.
Yes. So let's talk about Cipher Academy chapter 57. The word code doesn't exist in the Emperor's dictionary.
It doesn't, Nick, legally speaking.
Cool. So we open with Iroha in the vault where the 50 billion morgue is kept at the end of the virtual academy. And Kagome is there to meet him. She's sitting on a throne. And she says, this is your final 1-point lesson. Then we get a cool... single page spread of like all of the different like cast members, like it's a bunch of close-ups on their eyes. It's a very neat thing.
It's very cool seeing how many different cool female eye designs there are in this series.
Yeah, and how very distinct so many of them are just from that small part of their face. You can identify a lot of them. Yeah. So Kagome says she says Morg is a war-damaged cryptocurrency with a value that increases based on the number of wars, and as ironic as it may seem, prayers for a world without war were loaded into it. My dream was to do my best to remove all the value from this inheritance of suspicious origin, but in reality, the rate of Morg just kept skyrocketing. And
every time Mr. Don searches Tommy Pickle's mom nude, another coin drops into this vault. Everyone looks around. Holy shit! How often does he search for this?
Oh my god. And yeah, so Iroha said, I heard about that. And that's why Hakanage-san mixed in a computer virus made to look like this one more coin in order to prevent hyperinflation. This is beyond me. Look, this is too much. This is too advanced in the cryptocurrency sphere for me to understand all of this. So, Kagoe says that, like, you know, look, I wanted to clear this whole thing, but I couldn't. I would have maybe gotten to like level 100, but I never would have been able to get past 250. She says, when I was 5, there was some kind of international meeting being broadcast on TV, and the thought came to me, they all look so righteous, but how serious are they when they shake hands? And that led up to the development of the first Glasses weapon, Cold Government. Basically, a perfect lie detector, which I sold for cheap. And it doubled the number of wars in the world because nobody could lie to each other. Yeah, and she's like, yeah, if everyone had just been honest, then there wouldn't have been problems. But people are naturally liars, and that's just something that happens to everyone. And she starts going through like all the different members of Iroha's class that we didn't get like a lot of deep exploration into their backstories to explain like what big secret they have going on that haunts them. Although she does say, Ensa is like the one who doesn't have any issues like all the others.
Yeah, she's like, Enshan actually pretty dope. She was pretty straightforward about all this. Also, I had no idea what Anonymity Requested is all about. She's a goddamn mystery.
Didn't find anything about her either. So good job, Anonymity.
Maybe it was a mistake to give her the mask that hid her true face throughout most of the series.
Right. She also says that USI Mura's older brother died on a sinking aircraft carrier, which was covered up and never made public. So there's all these things in people's different pasts and stuff that are, you know, haunting them that they keep secret or are kept secret by other people from the rest of the world and everything. And Iroha says, okay, so are you trying to say that like everyone's just like Toshisai and me, since they all have a reason to want the 50 billion Morg? But Kagoe says, no, even though what they haven't told us is the important thing, what I'm trying to say is that this is all a peacetime tragedy. The idea of peace as a result of ending all wars is nothing but a huge, shameful lie. You were captured by those rebels after a war ended. If Kyorasan hadn't given the children those toy guns, that country would still be intact. So I won't let anyone dare say that we're better off since we aren't at war. Putting an end to war doesn't stop the tragedies. The important thing here is to twist the dial and control war. So, that's been her plan the whole time, she reveals to Iroha. And that's why she's been, you know, not revealing these things to Toshisai and to Iroha only to a certain extent. Is because she has a different interpretation of how to save the world, basically, than they do. And she says that what she wants to do is freeze things and distill them so only the good parts of war remain. And of course, some people are like, there's good parts of war? What the hell? And Anonymity's like, yeah, I think that she's honestly just acting like a villain because that's the only way that she can kind of keep going, basically. Because she knows that she's responsible for all this war she's caused. She's trying to not collapse under that guilt. So Iroha pauses and thinks for a second, and he looks right at Kagoe, and he says, why don't you just control peace? And this is presented as presumably the last question in the series,
Mm-hmm.
with a difficulty level of 6 stars. So the highest difficulty question we've got.
I feel like there was like 1 or 2 other 6 stars, but yeah, it's always been for like grand sort of questions and things of this nature of like, what's the answer then? And I do just like it, or I was like, why not peace? And everyone starts like losing their minds. Everyone's like, yeah.
Kagome goes through like the stages of grief in 5 seconds, basically. She's like, ha, that's hilarious. But there's no way. Well, I am a genius. Maybe I could pull it off. I just hadn't thought of it yet. Oh, no, it's not the same at all. It's totally different. But if we were to do that, we need a budget. But it is worth it. It's worth risking my life. But do I have the right to do that? Just completely, her facade crumbles away immediately.
Yeah. The entire time, Roa says nothing, just looks at her with his little goofy smile, and she's just like, don't look at me with your innocent face, your honest face.
I'm the villain of the series. I manipulated you all. No one can care about me. And everyone's like, did she really manipulate us? So Iroha finally steps forward and he says, humans are doomed to make war and it's impossible to get rid of it. I also once believed in that paradoxical statement, but what ended up enlightening me was you. Someone who can only say what they really feel through lies. So don't say this is the end. You don't need to be honest. Explain all those lies about your dreams until it becomes elementary. Let's get rid of all the world's wars. And he reaches out his hand, and Kagome says something silly and sarcastic, but she also reaches out, and she takes it. And as she takes his hand, we get a big 2-page spread of them shaking hands, and the glove on Kagoe's hand takes on the form of the earth. So, world peace achieved! Yay!
Yeah!
And this is so...
This is so great.
So great! So Kubanashi, golf claps, and then Toshisai approaches her, and they shake hands. And Nohime and the girl next to her shake hands. And Kuoka Ateshite shakes hands with that girl. And Anemone and Yosaimuro shake hands. And everyone can change.
Yeah, this is real fucking everyone can change moment. Everyone's hugging, they're fucking shaking hands. World peace has been achieved at last.
And we get a last shot of Dekii as the virtual academy fades around her. And she looks up at the announcement speaker on a classroom wall and just smiles at it as she also starts to fade away. And we get end of service announcement. The Cipher Academy metaverse has met a rude end. Thank you for your patronage. And then 2 years later, Iroha has joined the world of Mad Max.
Yeah.
So
he actually appears in a Furiosa movie. I didn't want to spoil it, but this is actually a pretty big deal. Nick, who plays Iroha in the Furiosa movie, I'm going to answer for you because you're drinking water. It's going to be Timothy Chalamet, because he's popular right now. And, I mean, we need a twink. I don't know too many popular twinks. So we need some, and he's got that Wonka charisma. We know he knows how to Wonka. We know that he knows how to rhyme chocolate with pocolate. So, I mean, this is a guy we need in our corner.
Wouldn't you want that guy to be making puzzles for you to solve?
Yeah.
It has been announced that next week's chapter of Cipher Academy will be its last.
Which makes sense based off of this chapter.
This is absolutely a second to last chapter vibe. Like, even if I hadn't heard that announcement, I would be like, so the next chapter is the last one, right? After that.
I went to our Discord after I read this chapter. I was like, did they announce new series are coming next week or something?
Yes,
yeah. Well, 2 weeks are now, but yes.
2 weeks, yeah.
So I imagine we'll talk more about Cipher Academy as a whole next week. But yeah, it's ending. It's unclear what the other series that's going to end. I've heard some speculation it might be 2 on Ice. I've heard some speculation it might be Martial Master Asumi. Who knows? Stuff is in the air. Stay tuned, but it does look like this is the end for Cipher Academy next week, so we'll give it a more proper wrap-up then. But in the meantime, we're going to talk about a series that's going to keep going for at least a little bit longer.
Green, green, greens. It's Chapter 8, Compensation. So it's post Haku's match with Chikara, and also the offer of Oga to go and study golf at an American frickin' academy with a full scholarship and stuff. But Haku, at the beginning of this chapter, is just kind of hanging out in his room with one of his friends. They're sitting around playing video games together. There's a bunch of stuff that Haku has bought recently with his paycheck from his job, just like sitting on the shelves around him and stuff. And he's like, I wonder what I should get for the cash for my job. Actually, this might just be stuff that he already had, come to think of it. He doesn't actually explain that he bought all this recently. So this might just be stuff he already had.
Yeah.
But he establishes to his friends, like, yeah, I am, like, getting into golf. And he admits that he does get interested in stuff really easily and then lose interest just as easily, which is, I think, meant to imply where a lot of the stuff that he's got came from, because there's, like, a guitar sitting in the corner and stuff, so these might be the mementos of past hobbies.
There's video games, there looks like there are albums, looks like manga. Yeah, it's a whole video game consoles, music. Yeah, statues. Like, this is a guy who's like, yeah, I get really passionate into something and I stop. And man, for somebody with hyperfixation, I understand that.
Yeah. He recaps what happened after Oga got the invitation, which is just that she didn't say anything. She just spent some time, like, staring at it. And didn't really announce what her intentions were, which sounds about right. Later on, Haku is at his job. He's talking with one of the short-haired kids that he works with, Kikui. And he says, like, I mean, like, if you wanted to play golf, you would go abroad, right? And Kikui says, like, oh, I mean, like, it depends on the person. I mean, the golf scene's, like, way better in America, generally speaking. He then says a lie, which is how much it costs to play a round of golf. It doesn't cost $20. Unless you go to, like, a much cheaper range than the one near where I live.
Yeah, I was going to say, usually, I've never played it, but from what I understand, it's usually a little bit more expensive to do a weekend of golf at a decent golf course. But maybe he's like, I've heard they have a special kind of golf called putt-putt that only the
most powerful players play. That's why it's called putt-putt.
It's short for powerful players.
I hear that they imported the Congo River to construct many of their golf courses.
Yeah, I believe I've heard they've actually stolen the Eiffel Tower from France and shrunk it down like a cartoon supervillain, along with the famous windmills of Holland. And you have to conquer those challenges.
We also have live octopuses that try and knock your ball away from the hole.
At the end, they have a fiendish game where you try to sink a hole in one or win a free game, but if you lose forever.
Forever? Forever.
Wait, if you die in miniature golf, you die in real life? No, you just don't get a free game. And you don't steal the ball. That's really why they have it there, so you don't just take the ball when you go home.
You lose forever. That's why Tiger Woods stopped winning majors after that. He missed that one putt and was never the same.
I don't even know what an affair is.
He just turns out to be the weirdest person who works there.
It should be noted, I believe Tiger Woods has run things relatively recently, I believe.
He's won at least one since then, I think. But anyway, he also talks about, like, Oga's, like, really good, because Haku does that. It's like, how good is she? She says, well, she's won, like, 3 regional tournaments, and she hasn't won at the national level, but she placed 3rd last year. So, very good.
Yes.
She's, ranking in the top 3 in all of Japan, even for her age bracket.
I fucking love it, because Haku's like, whoa, I had no idea she's so good. She should have told everybody. If it was me, I'd be bragging nonstop about how fucking awesome I am.
It's just like, Oh, because I'm very, very egotistical.
I am very good at golf, everybody. And you're like, yes, more characters like this. More characters like me. I would also be a gremlin like, haven't you guys heard? I placed third in the national golf tournament.
But he comes to a realization, which is that, hey, you know, Oliver, or whatever his name is, said to Oga that the new school year is in September, which means that after summer break, Oga's not going to be around anymore. So the next week's tournament, which Haku is playing and participating in, is like, that might be the last chance that I can actually, like, play golf with her, which is something that he wants to do. He's like, I started golf because of her. I want to be able to say once to her, I want her to say once to me, you're pretty amazing. It's like I want, you know, it's a nice, like, non-romantic guy-girl relationship that we've developed between these two so far. So Haku's like, hey, what would be amazing for a beginner to do in their very first round of golf? And what Kikui tells him is, I mean, if you were to get a birdie, and we get an explanation for what a birdie is, which is getting one below par, because that is, you know, very difficult in general. And especially hard for someone who is a total rookie, who can't putt. But he has been practicing. He's like, yay, I've hit 5 in a row from a meter away. It's a baby steps, kid. Baby steps. And he also is like, okay, you know, if I'm... He like, you know, is working his way towards, which is like, okay, you know, a lot of par 4s are like 300 to 400 yards long. You've managed to hit a 300-yard drive, so depending on the hole, maybe you could even reach the green in one stroke, and from there, you would have like 3 chances to get it in the hole there. But you need to work on your putting skills. So he's practicing on that. And as he is practicing, and he's like, yay, celebrating and stuff, Oliver is also practicing, and he literally goes, hey, so extra.
I love it. He doesn't even say, hey, just you. Yeah?
And so Haku watches him practice for a bit, and he's not aiming for the hole. He's aiming to stop in a perfect ring around the hole, which is, you know, harder.
Very difficult, yeah. I sadly wish this character had more biblical references to him. I wish this character... I'm just saying, 2 on Ice has set a standard for what the egotistical pretty boy villain does, and I need him to be a lot more fucking petty than this guy.
Absolutely. So Haku realizes, like, wait a minute, what if this guy could teach me how to putt and stuff? He does remember Oka telling him, like, you can't just copy someone else's style, but he's like, but his style's so cool, so I want to copy it. So he says, like, hey, Mr. Oliver, can you give me points on how to putt like you? And Oliver's like, why? And he goes, oh, because I want to do this and I want to get better really quickly and I would love some tips. And Oliver's like, no. Why should I teach you? What's in it for me to teach you? And Haku's like, well, if you're staying in Tokyo, I could help you around. And Oliver's like, every moment my hands are off my club, my performance weakens. Teaching you and then casually touring Japan would be a waste of my time. Much like Noah wasted time not building the Ark. So he's like, he says, don't assume a second to you is anything like a second to me. All right, dick. So he goes back to practicing. Haku actually apologizes for wasting his time. He's like, I'm not angry. Fuck you. You're such an asshole. And Haku now is like really kind of like self-conscious about it. He goes home and he's thinking like, oh, I've been spoiled by being around all these helpful who have just been happy to teach me if I just asked them. And I guess, you know, he wasn't wrong that I was kind of being presumptive that he would, you know, help me out just because I asked him. He came all the way over here for a visit. So I guess, yeah, there's you know, that it is a waste of time. Though if I were him, I came all the way over to a country and just practiced golf. That sounds like a bit of a waste of time to me, but okay.
Mm-hmm.
But he's like, we just live our lives differently, and our passion for golf is different, so I have nothing worthwhile to offer him. But he thinks, like, yeah, I mean, right now, I'm living my life with all my heart and soul, So he feels really bad because he's like, I'm doing my best here, but also like I'm really small and insignificant. Welcome to being a teenager and beyond, kid. You're having your epiphany about what the world is like. It's all right. It just gets worse from here.
Yeah, don't worry. Hope will start to slowly be wrung from you every day of your life.
So the next day, he comes to Oliver and is like, please teach me to putt. And Oliver's like, I told you. He's like, no. I listened to you. But I'm being stubborn about this because if things don't change, I'm just going to keep on coming up with excuses to run away again. So I want to make it impossible for me to turn back. And Oliver's like, I mean, all right, but I don't really care. So Haku says, okay, but I thought about what would make up for the time that I'd be taking from you. And this is the best I could come up with. I've got 100,000 yen here, which is $1,000, which for a 15-year-old is a lot.
That's a lot of money to be making in a moment.
And he said, and he says, can you just give me 1 hour of your time for it? And Oliver's like, okay, that's a lot. What's your scheme? He's like, I mean, I figured that I'd have to be at least this much for it. And I just kind of, I've been cruising through life up through this point, so it's kind of me trying to make up for it. And Oliver is like, shouldn't you use the money to buy a decent outfit?
Damn!
What a mean asshole. So Haku's like, I don't need one. Right now, all I need is golf. We cut back to the room he was hanging out in at the beginning of the chapter, and like almost all of his stuff is gone.
All the cupboards are bare, the console's been sold, the guitar's gone. Basically, it's just his TV and his bed and the couch that was still in there.
Yeah, so he didn't get rid of everything, but he got rid of a lot.
He cleared out, basically, yeah.
Yeah. So he says, this is all I can pay you right now. I'm serious about wanting to get better. And that's our chapter. So it does feel like, gradually Haku is trying to grow up. And it's nice to see that.
Yeah, this is a really, really good chapter. I love seeing Haku take some measurement of responsibility here, and I think it's a great, storytelling way of showing us, like, hey, here's his room. It looks really nice. He's hanging out. His friend's like, you give up on everything. And he's like, haha, I know. And then the end of the chapter is he's sold all these things he's given up on because he's actually really interested in committing to making golf happen. So it works out really good. Great chapter.
Yeah.
Speaking of, no, Nick, sadly, we don't get to go to 2 on Ice. Sadly,
2 on Ice.
Actually, yes, 2 on Ice, Nick. We're just going to skip over New Exorcist. We're already so low on time. Let's talk about 2 on Ice, Chapter 17, Vocation again. I'm just going to say it louder and faster so we can't go back.
New Exorcist is actually just really dumb this week. There's there's more talk about how spirits work. Chinatsu goes into a battle rage. Suo and Shiroha launch a really stupid escape plan that is weirdly comedic for some reason up until a girl is gonna kill them with multiple eyes, and then Chinatsu's like, I'm gonna kill this thing, and Gakura's like, I should save her, but I don't know how.
Oh yeah, sorry. And then the cool end reveal that Shiroha's butler guy is gonna show up to potentially save him. I was like, who gives a shit? This isn't a character. You don't get to do this.
Yeah. I can't believe that Gakuro has this big moment of like, I have to save someone, and he still seems wishy-washy. It's like, can't this guy ever do anything cool? Ever.
Suck. 2 on Ice, Chapter 17, Vocation Duty.
Much like New Exorcist was. So, last time Hayuma asked Natsu... Snuck it past you.
It took a second. I was like, was there a lot of duty happening in that? I don't know if that was a virtue. I was like, oh, duty. And then I was just 12 again. And I was like,
More!
Oh, I'm so sorry, Statler and Gonzo. I've knocked you all over. It was for a bit, you understand.
2 on Ice, Chapter 17, last time, Hayuma asked Natsuya, hey, can you have me, like, do the girl parts in pair skating so that, because I want to, like, understand what Kisara is going through when I lift her and stuff. And Natsuya did not seem receptive to the idea originally. And he's like, you don't understand, like, the responsibility of a guy's role in pairs. And Hayuma says, well, I'm asking for this so I can understand. And he's so earnest that he actually just like immediately breaks Natsuya down. He's like, okay, look, this is the first and last time we're gonna do this. This could be potentially really dangerous. We're not gonna do it on the ice. We're gonna put a mat down and
no skates.
No skates, 3 seconds max.
Yeah.
Like we are doing this as cautiously as possible. They do it in such a position so that if one of them if Hayuma falls, then if he falls backwards, he'll just go up against the wall, and Natsuya will have a chance if he falls forwards to catch him. But even then, he's like, you could, like, hit your face on the freaking chair behind us, so this is still dangerous. He's being very serious about it. And he also is like, hey, get that one out here, and Natsumi turns into Sonic and pulls Kisara away. Like, it's really weird how it's always like, we have to keep them apart while the guys talk.
There's also just the sense that they're like, look, these fucking idiots are going to be too weird with each other, so we got to keep them apart when weird shit's going on. Like, he's going through something right now, so Kisara, we're going to go have girl talk in a car.
Yeah. So they get into her car, and Kisara says, like, oh man, he's really strict about injuries. He's always really scary about it. And Natsuya's sister says, before we met you, when we had just started high school, Natsuya made a mistake, and I got really badly hurt. So basically, he's been carrying that with him, and that's why he's so serious about this. He had one bad mistake, and he was like, never again, essentially. And Natsuya at this point just wants Hayuma to understand what it feels like to hold someone else's life in their hands. And she says also, we're lucky that Hayuma's kind of on the smaller side for a male skater, so this should probably be okay. Hayuma goes up, and we get just a 2-page spread of him just, like, being held up and getting to see all of the ice. And he says, the beautiful scenery only women see 3 meters above the ice. Yes, that only women and people who own stepladders can see.
Well, it's not magic when you say it like that, Nick.
Or go up in the stands. This up there too. But he realized, like, oh shit, this is scary. And immediately not just like, yeah, I'm putting you down. So, but the big thing that Hayuma has taken away is like, oh, your hands. Like, all you could use to hold me up was just the surface of your hands. And I was like, oh man, I know what a great skater you are, but I was still scared. And I'd see you as quietly things to himself, like, yeah, I was scared too. So just like they're always just like, don't drop. Like, it's really hammered home in this. But from that, Hayuma thinks about like the times that he would be like embarrassed about holding hands with Kisara, or he would accidentally let go of her hands when they would stumble and stuff. And he's just having it impressed upon him how important that little part of your body is to always hold on to the person and protect them so that they don't get hurt while you're doing stuff. So that's the big thing that he learns. And the last lesson that we get from this is like, hey, hurting yourself is scary, but it's nothing compared to injuring your partner. So bonds, teamwork, and stuff.
Yes.
Some time passes, like 3 weeks pass, and so there is a moment where we get kind of the reverse perspective on this, where Natsume is like, hey, so the men feel responsible for our lives, and they kind of ended up overdoing it, so we've got to take responsibility too. When you see your partner getting all psyched up, you kind of have to calm them down. Which makes sense, because, like, oh, if you're all psyched up about it, it's also, like, calm down so that you also don't get tense up and drop me.
Don't worry, women. You have to be responsible for the men's inability to regulate their emotions.
Just... and,
I get what they say.
Yeah, and Hayuma is turning Kisara is like, I'm never letting go of your hand again. And Kisara's like, yeah, okay, God.
She's like, Jesus. There's no extreme with you. Like, there's no middle ground. It's all extremes.
But he does a lift while they're practicing. Hey, it looks really cool. It's a big old star lift, and there's this big old star pattern that indicates like the different points of it with her legs, his legs, her head, and stuff. It looks neat, and he does it perfectly. And they also kind of like establish some of like the physics of how this works while skating as well. And then all of a sudden, there's a moment after Hayuma very perfectly catches her and brings her down and stuff. He just gets this look in his eyes. He says, "Can we try a triple axel? I think I figured out a little bit more." And so they start doing side-by-side skating, and as they're doing it, Hayuma has had a big revelation from the learning how the skates affect his balance and stuff while doing the lifts, and now he starts to apply that to doing a jump and how it affects his speed and his ability to control his feet and stuff. And he also flashes back to that conversation where he was asked by Taka, "Are you aware you've been blessed with talent?" And he said to himself, "I said I was, so I can't be a coward anymore. I can't claim I lost the ability to do jumps because I gained muscle. I have a duty to do both. These hands are meant to protect Kisara's life. These legs are meant to take a step forward into unprecedented ground with Kisara." And they do a side-by-side triple axel. Wow, it's chapter 17, and the entire reason we did this series is suddenly here.
They haven't done it in front of people yet. They haven't done it in front of people, Nick.
People cheer on the sidelines, and also Sei Hata, Olympic representative veteran and Japanese pair, shows up. Okay, hi, nice to meet you. And there is a cute moment of like Kisara and Hayuma, they're like holding hands and spinning around, celebrating, like, we did it, and they're trying to like get their attention, and then they realize like they're so happy that all they can see in this moment is each other. They're just completely blanking out everyone. It is actually very cute.
It's very, very cute. I do like it. We are extremely close to 10 o'clock, so I think we need to move forward into Elusive Samurai. But yeah, we will see if this is the beginning of the end for Two on Ice or just a next step forward for the progress there.
Yeah, so it's Elusive Samurai. People turn into grenades in this chapter. Chapter 142, Malfunction 1338. So they establish like, hey, that Toki guy's only got 700 warriors. Let's get him. Killing people with a big old sword. Akie is like, Toki's attack is like a ripple striking a boulder. His charge will strike and shatter. I'm gonna shoot arrows to kill a bunch of people. Ha! The enemy has lost 100 men in a single attack. Doesn't matter. Gonna turn them into grenades now. Toki picks one guy up with his sword and throws him fully, and his body explodes with the force of impact, which sends shrapnels of his armor everywhere. Like, this is a ridiculous chapter. This is amazing and stupid. That's why Akie's army was not doing so well, is because this guy is literally got siege weaponry on his side. Up until Kojiro and Ayako come in, help deflect one of his blows. Tokiyuki comes in with a bunch of reinforcements and says, "We will protect you like untamed beasts." So a big crazy chapter to establish how insane this villain guy is. Cool.
Yes, good stuff, but don't have a ton of thoughts on it. However, I do have a lot of thoughts on Akane-banashi, so let's talk about that real quick. Story 95. It's been a while! It's impossible not for me to... I was like, I don't know what kind of monk-like fucking discipline I would need to not feel like it's been a while.
Since we talked about Akane-banashi.
Since my dad called himself dead.
So, it's time for Asagao's big ol' event. There's a backstage entrance. A lot of people are gathered there, and it's like very, very serious. And some of the journalists are like, yeah, there's a lot of attention going on in this debut, because who would guess the chairman of the Rakugo Federation himself, the national treasure, would show up in person. And it's Master Miroku, whom we've seen little bits of here and there during the story, but this is like a full, proper appearance for him. Asakawa is bowing respectfully as he comes in. He congratulates Asakawa on his promotion, and then Chocho shows up, and Miroku says, yeah, Shomei was whining about it, that you didn't explain anything. And Chocho's like, oh, it's called a surprise. Yeah. And so Miroku says he's going to potentially stick around to the end of the event. So whatever's going on here, he is going to be present for and witness it. He says, as he, starts to go and take his place, that it's been several years since he heard an Arakawa performance. I think I'll enjoy this one. But Chocho looks after him suspiciously as he leaves, and he thinks, was he being honest? It's always hard to tell what his true intentions are. So, tension is boiling up, absolutely. Mm-hmm. Akane comes rushing in. She's got, hand towels for people and stuff. She's rushing around. She's still doing her Zenza duties and everything. So Chocho says, like, oh man, you got your big performance and you're going around performing errands for people. But Akane says that she's ready to go. And she says, my mood right now is bring it on. Aw.
Yep.
So then Chocho realized, like, hey, where's Tainoji? And someone comes in and says, I just received a message from Master Taizen. He's gonna be late. Which immediately, like, why? What is his excuse? And he says, like, look, he says that he will make sure he arrives on time, even if it's right down to the wire, and for us to leave the order as it is, which is pretty crazy because he is on second in the lineup, immediately after Akane. But that's still a problem. Chocho and Asagawa both realize, and Akane does too, that if he is going to be late, then he's not going to witness Akane's performance, which means he doesn't want to engage with what they've got going on here, engage with Akane's gamble. And immediately Chocho knows, like, what's happened here. He's like, I don't think that he would just, grovel and go away for no reason after he heard after that speech he gave and everything, which means it was that damn afro. Yep. So he's caught on to what's going on here. So he starts to call up Taizen. Akane's asking what she can do and everything. And Chocho just says, like, look, I appreciate it, but you don't know the situation you're in right now. There's nothing you can do here. Just be patient and have faith. And he starts getting to calling Taizen, who is not answering his phone. And we cut to Taizen, who is in a garden somewhere.
Yeah.
And he's thinking about the decree that his master has given him, which is like, don't give a recommendation to one of Shikama's pupils. And he thinks to himself, it's the pinnacle of unfairness, but I cannot defy him. He is my master. On the other hand, to treat Ard with anything less than total honesty, that would violate my principles. And he thinks about what Akane told him, saying, like, I'm going to undertake the first step with all of my strength. She's going to go for this seriously. He hears this phone ringing, but he's still ignoring it. A duck appears in the pond, and the duck speaks to him.
Hello, Taizen. You should burn down the library.
Mm.
And then Akane's dad shows up and is like, hey, what's going on, old buddy?
You fell for the old arsonist duck routine again.
He's like, yes, I have. As he puts his matches away.
That duck wasn't talking. So, Toru shows up, and he says, you seem to be struggling mightily with something. Whenever a problem was weighing on your mind, you would always go to a place with a lot of green. And I see that habit hasn't left you. And yeah, it's Akane's dad. He's got his suitcase with him, so he is, like, recently arrived. And he greets Taizen, says it's been a while.
It's been a while.
it's been a while since I wore this cool scarf. So, full page spread just for, him just being here. But it makes sense. He's stepping back into the world of Rakugo in this moment. And Tyson turns to him and says, oh, Shinta. And Toru's kind of taken back by this. And he's like, oh, yeah, Shinta Arakawa. It's been a while since anyone's called me by that name.
Oh, you could have done it. It's been a while since anyone's called me by that name. It's been a while, but Shinta Arakawa's dead.
Yeah, cram that in there. It's the right number. So sure.
It's been a while. We can do it for the whole rest of the recap. It's been a while since Jay Garcia Saturn said.
Nope. He says, I'm Toru Osaki, just a regular old concrete salesman. So, hey, this is nice. Things are coming together here in a way that looks like it's going to be very, very nice. Of course, if there's anyone that can get through to Tyson in this moment, it's going to be an old friend, maybe.
Yeah, I like it. We're moving into some exciting stuff. Tension is there. Let's hope for some good to this story. Let's wrap this up, Nick. Let's talk about One Piece. This is chapter 1105, The Height of Folly. Hey, Pudding's on the cover, Nick. It's like she's a part of the Straw Hats.
It's like she's a Straw Hat. Look. This counts. It counts.
Yeah, sure. So the Buster Call has been activated. They're preparing to start the bombardment, so all the Marines are running away. We see Vice Admiral Dahl call out, and she's like, wait, St. Saturn, Admiral Borsellino, you have to get on the ship. And St. Saturn just responds that Kizaru and I will be staying on the island. Begin the bombardment when the ships are ready. And she tries to resist for a moment. She's like, but, and Borsellino just responds, go. So she follows her order. So Vegapunk is left confronting them. And he's like, I thought that you only wanted my life, St. Saturn. But, Egghead is full of so much research. And you're willing to destroy all of it? Like, this is crazy. If you do this, you will set back scientific progress by 100 years. And he tries to plead to Borsellino. He's like, please, you have to understand. And St. Saturn's just like, what? Oh, sorry. Karen, not Pudding. My bad. Are you still hiding something? Well, perhaps something the world government should know about? We don't need progress. And Vegapunk's like, it is for the sake of humanity. And St. Saturn's like, oh, by the way, I also ordered a strike against the ship that escaped the island yesterday. After all, somebody on board that ship may have known something about the Void Sentry, and I sent battleships after it to ensure there are no survivors. And Vegapunk is horrified. He's like, how could you do this? No one on that ship knew anything. No one's done anything wrong. And Saturn's like, no, you caused this to happen. You decided to break the law just like Ohara, and you couldn't stop in your quest for knowledge. You just had to start digging into things you shouldn't have. So this is your fault. And Vegapunk is furious. We get over.
Do you think that J. Garcia Saturn uses that line of logic to justify like everything he does? Like gets up in the middle of the night, goes into the kitchen. Oh, these cookies may have violated the principles of the world. They need to be eliminated.
These Oreos have committed grave sins. The only place they should be redeemed is in my belly. I like a moment of humanity slips in. He's like, it'll be better in my belly.
Time to activate the Buster Call. Oh.
He's at Olive Garden. Like, sir, would you like more Parmesan on your pasta? He's like, yes, that cheese has perhaps learned too much. Great to find mist aboard my food.
Just evil about all the most insane things. Yes, it was all part of my machinations to cause that tomato sauce to be made.
I was gonna say he goes to get gas, but there's no way he's pumping his own gas. But he's like, perhaps the higher fuel level is what I need this time. Regulars had it good for too long, but what does premium know? So it's like, it's actually bad for your car.
You were sent back the achievements of science by 100 years.
He's like, what do you know about the Void Century? It shoots him in the stomach. So I got distracted. The pacifistas are on standby. We established that. Frankie, Atlas, and Bonnie are escaping with Koba. Frankie's fine. By the way, he got like laser fucking kicked by Borsellino last week, but he's just chill now. So good for him. We get a very cute scene where Bonnie is like, wait, Sanji, what about Vegapunk? And Sanji's like, don't worry about him, Bonnie. I'm going to go bring him back. And because he knows she's a child now, he's not like a weird creep about it. He just seems like a good dude who's like, I want to take care of this child to make sure she can have happy times with her father.
I need him to like just say that like all the time though. Like, just like, don't worry, Bonnie, who is a child that I care for.
Yeah. Who I understand I had misconceptions about, but I learned information and I want to show that I am very respectful and not a weird guy. He immediately calls Nami. Nami's like, hey, we're at the back door. What the fuck is happening? Happens off screen, the conversation, and Nami's basically reacting to like, wait, a Buster call? Oh, God. What about Luffy? Is he down there? And Sanji's like, yeah, he's somewhere. And Robin's like, okay, so Zoro is still kind of tied up in his fight with Lucci, and Jinbei is heading over there to basically tip the scales in Zoro's favor completely at that point. Also to keep him from being lost. I love that detail. Just like also to make sure Zoro knows how to get out of here. We do see a scene. Robin has been injured, so she's being like taken care of on an evac. It's also a way to remind us, like, oh yeah, Robin. She's the other person who knows what a Buster call is really like in this kind of situation. Yeah. I guess they kind of saw a Buster call happen. Everyone at Enos Lobby, but still. We get a little detail about after the Sunny was moved, Luffy, Frankie, and Robin went towards you. So Brook went to go help Lilith, who got left behind. But the problem is that our plan to use the Vega Force 1 to escape isn't going to work anymore because Borsellino destroyed it.
Just killed it.
So we don't know what we're going to do. Cut over to Lilith and Brook, who are seemingly very happy about all of this. So like, this is going great. And we see that they are on the Sunny and sailing along because Brook has used his powers to turn the Cloud Islands to ice. And Lilith is like, genius. This is incredible. Such a brilliant idea to do this. And Brook's like, oh.
Yeah, it's great, Brook. How are we going to stop?
He's like, oh, well, I haven't thought that far ahead. And she's like, you piece of shit. What's your plan? He's like, well, I thought the genius would figure it out. He's really just like, oh, I don't know. What should my plan be? He's just an idiot. At this point, the Navy has gotten enough people on board that they're like, all right, begin the bombardment. They've moved their ships back from shore. And the pacifistas just start blowing things up. It's a panel I actually wish was a little bit bigger as Vegapunk just watches his city get destroyed in front of him. It's very sad. In a way, it's kind of karmatic justice for the part that he played and everything with Kuma. Mm-hmm. But it is very heartbreaking to watch somebody who has put their life work into something, just watch it get heartlessly destroyed in front of him. So one of those moments where One Piece has so many emotional beats that you're like, I wish this one had been given more space. The rest of the team that are trying to escape are in the like vacuum tube. It looks like they only have like 30 seconds before they'd be safe. But Borsellino cuts the tube straight open and all the characters just start falling out. Sanji screams that don't worry, he's going to save them, at least Bonnie. But Saint Saturn says, pacifistas, shoot down Bonnie and Kuma. And he thinks to himself, it's just exquisite. The daughter he gave his life to save is going to be killed
he's
by
like
his
having
own
this part over and over.
He's like, the daughter of the clone, he's the daughter of the man, the son the daughter of the man that she's dadding. Fuck. You know what? Fuck it. Everyone sucks but me.
And how ironic that no one can hear me thinking anyway. Why am I trying to
why am I working so hard? He's like, no, this is so exquisite. The daughter he gave his life for is going to be killed by his own clone.
A fitting end for the insect she is. It is the height of folly. And we just see a kind of a like 1.5 page spread of Kuma cradling Bonnie in this moment, and the rest of the characters on the ship just falling as pacifistas are aiming their lasers straight up at them. And Vegapunk has like a little thought that he's like, when I heard you became a pirate, Bonnie, there was one awful possibility that flashed through my mind. And that was that the Navy might one day order the pacifistas that look like your father to shoot down his own daughter without realizing the irony of it. Very amazing.
Oh, but I do realize the irony of it. It's delicious.
I was going to say, very funny, because Saint Saturn, absolutely. This is more emotion than he's shown towards anything else at this point. He's like, yes, this delicious irony.
Ooh, a 12-year-old being killed, yes.
Yes, I am evil.
The world government is good, yes.
We have 2 more quick scenes to wrap up on. The first is that a bunch of Marines have surrounded Luffy. They're like, hey, that's Trident Luffy, right? This is one of the Emperors. Let's capture him. And Luffy's like, I've eaten too much and can't move. But the most important scene to leave off on is a report that the battleships that were sent to destroy the escape ship have failed. They must report back. They have to report back to Borsalino to tell him they went to Egghead Island. Now, Nick, do you know who they is?
No fucking clue.
So I do not blame you for forgetting this. We do not know yet, obviously, but the presumption would be like a year ago is that we saw a Blackbeard ship headed towards it. It had Blackbeard's flag. It was one of his big log little like raftings. We don't know who's on the ship. But we do know a Blackbeard ship is headed to this location. They is an interesting term. It could refer to the Blackbeard pirates, but there's also like a weird thing in the canon that Blackbeard sometimes gets referred to as they, not as like a gender neutral pronoun, but almost as like a collective. It's kind of like weird phrasing that existed back in Jaya. But there is a terror in my heart that Bonnie and
Kuma?
Vegapunk are in danger of being kidnapped here. Vegapunk for obvious reasons. Bonnie more for the reasons that the Blackbeard pirates are just kind of in the habit of... they just kidnap people at this point. We know that Pudding's been taken captive by them. We know that Kobe was being held captive, but now it looks like maybe Garp might have had that exchanged for... It's very unnerving as a moment. It is worth noting, we do not know 100% for certain if the Blackbeard's who they are talking to, but we know they're headed towards this island, so it could be something else that feels like the most likely answer. So we will find out. I think we get another chapter next week, or maybe it's off next week. But regardless, we will hopefully find out soon what's going to happen here. New chapter, 4 days.
Yeah, so it'll be out this coming Sunday.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So that was a packed episode of Weekly Manga Recap, everybody. We had an Eyeshield 21, and that's great. Let's talk about what our favorites were this week and close down or wrap up the show.
Yeah. I think my favorite chapter this week is going to be it's Blue Box. I don't know why I stopped for a moment. I think Blue Box was the best chapter this week. There were, I think, actually a good amount of good chapters this week. But Blue Box, I think, had a very special chapter. I think a chapter that's going to resonate for a lot of people. This had, like, vibes to that moment in Eyeshield 21, catching back up to the beginning, where Hayabara had, like, grabbed Haruma was just like, why? What's so different between you and me? Just that, like, raw emotion of, like, loss in a sports series that is very, like, hard to replicate. It hits so very passionately.
Yeah. Or like that moment where he's like wouldn't you have done Marco was like, wouldn't you have done the same thing? And everyone was like, yep. Yep, because I would have.
100%, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the tool I had in my toolbox.
Would have done it. I am going to also say Blue Box. That is absolutely the most emotional moment this week. It is a fantastic use of artwork to show Chinatsu ugly crying like she never has in this entire series up to this point, and really making you feel for her. And I just love the exchange between her and Taiki in this, where Taiki knows that she's got to get this out, and when she starts crying, like he's not like looking sad and stuff. He's like, yeah, he's being there, being a good supportive partner.
Character of the week is hard because my answer, I believe, is Haku from Green. So I thought was really cool, and I like his motivation. But part of me wants to give it to Mr. Dawn from Eyeshield 21. Because, one, great joke. Two, when am I going to get the chance to nominate another Eyeshield 21 character again? So, I'm going to break all the rules here, and I'm going to say Mr. Dawn, Eyeshield 21. What a character.
So my real answer is Haku from Greens. I thought this was a very nice chapter that showed his growth. And it was nice to see him, as you said, being a little shit, but also, just like really going for it and growing as he's doing so. My fake answer is Hiruma from Eyeshield 21, because if you give me a chance to say Hiruma was my favorite character, Hiruma was my favorite character. So
yeah. I almost want to be like, yeah, Jumanji from Eyeshield 21. He was so cool. I was like, I don't think he said a line. I don't know if he says anything. Yeah, the audience, by the way, picked Chinatsu as their MVP and Akane-banashi as the chapter of the week. Good stuff all around for everybody. Once again, a big thank you to Mulderman for allowing us to talk about the Eyeshield 21 chapter and get to what do pigs do when they're in mud?
Roll around.
Isn't there a word they use? I want to say wallow, but that's a sad thing. We got to be pigs in the mud with Eyeshield 21. That's just it. We got to roll around in our little garbage football series and just talk about some good times.
Yep. Guys, thank you all for listening. We will have another episode next week, same time on twitch.tv/ReloadC. Usually we record the show around 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. But to stay updated on when exactly the stream goes live, you can join the WMR Discord server, which will be linked wherever this gets posted. Our audio episodes get put up on weeklymangarecap.podbean.com, as well as Spotify and iTunes and other podcasties type places. And our video episodes get put up on Weekly Manga Recap on youtube.com/Weekly Manga Recap, I should say, which also feature an opening sequence by Maladrex Tillitz and Winston Cheddar, and occasional title cards done by Steve Mann, whose work you can find on the World Wide Web by just searching for Steve Mann art, and it pops up in a whole bunch of different places. And last but not least, we want to thank everyone on the Discord server, including Ninja X3i, who maintains the Google Doc that keeps track of all sorts of fun, helpful statistics associated with the show. There's a Q&A section where you can submit questions for the next time we have a break and get the chance to answer them. And you can also put in a recommendation for a series you'd like to hear us talk about. We will be having the next chapter of Pokemon Adventures fairly soon. So look forward to all that manga talkie times coming to come.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to give a special shout out, or I guess a special mention, that a January bonus pod came out for our champion level patrons. So if you want to listen to Nick and I voice the best chapters of 2023, you can go and listen to that. There was also one posted for December, which is a buddy chat where Nick and I discuss many things, amongst them manga-themed burgers and Nick's very precious thoughts about Jujutsu Kaisen. So if you were curious to hear more, you can go check that out there. I also want to note, if people are listening to this, if you can let me know if this episode is being downloaded through Podbean, if you are still getting ads. I believe I found a way to turn that off, but perhaps it is more intricate than I thought. So let me know. I am trying to help create the best listening experience possible. And they won't let us do our own ads. They were like, no, you have to be better for us to do this. I was like, well, that's never gonna happen, so fuck these robots.
It's all downhill from here, guys.
Yeah, if I can't be Conan O'Brien begrudgingly like bitter about doing a bidet ad, which if you haven't heard is legitimately one of the funniest things I've heard in the past year, go and then fuck off. I don't care. So I just wanted to note that and say I love you all so much.
Aw, I tolerate you all.
There you go. Those are your two parents. So that is going to do it, everybody, for the manga recap this week. I don't know what to end off on. Go read Eyeshield 21, I guess.
Please. Yeah. And then you too can join us in our campaign to, I don't know, we're never going to get it, but, just to be mad at English localizers for not giving it to us and to say, hey, come on, we'll buy it, please.
For totally reasonable reasons, by the way. Like, again, I totally understand why Eyeshield 21 is a difficult sell.
To be like, oh, let's go and retroactively add that all to the vault, which would require us to like touch up so many goddamn fucking Murata arts and things like that. Like, it's such a pain in the ass. Totally get it. But still very fine to me.
Football. Bye.